FA Cup now is that it doesn't seem to matter as much. This really matters, and the teams are strong. Sunderland with Patterson in goal, Hume, O'Nien, Ballard and Elise at the back, Ekwar and Neil in midfield with Joe Bellingham, who'll push forward, but he'll be expected to drop back as well. Pritchard on the right, Clark on the left, their top scorer, and the Ukrainian Rusin through the middle. Patrick Roberts has not made it, not involved. And Newcastle, Dubravka in goal, Trippier, Cher, Botman and Byrne, Longstaff, Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton, Almiron, Isak and Gordon. So Livramento only among the substitutes today, as is Lewis Miley, the Geordie who must be desperate to get involved in this. So off we go. Sunderland against Newcastle. Sunderland kicking off in the red and white stripes with the black numbers on the back, black shorts, red socks, and Newcastle also in stripes, black and white stripes against red and white stripes. How nice it is to see that. White shorts and white socks, and Newcastle in possession with the ball at the back. This, what we imagine will be a hectic FA Cup third round Saturday, is underway. We are going to go to Millwall in a moment, but Newcastle attacking their first attack of the match with Gordon through the middle, right-footed ball from him, out to the right-hand side. Almiron gets the ball down, chests it down, chorus of boos from the Sunderland supporters in the stands around us, and then Trippier plays the ball forward. It's deflected through for what is the first corner of the match, and that you will hear after we come back from Becky Ives.
Millwall 0, Leicester 1. Cesar Casady, honestly, Millwall's first attack. Ball floated in, header, bam, into the back of the net. Millwall 0, Leicester 1.
So a corner to Newcastle from the right-hand side. Trippier waits to take this. The feeling was that Newcastle, with the height that they've got, could cause Sunderland problems from set pieces, and they have the first corner in the second minute, in from Trippier to the near post, but a diving header away from Bellingham. Newcastle still with it. Trippier with a cross swirled in. Patterson didn't get there, and the ball is deflected out for a throw on the far side, and it's back to Wimbledon. Aaron Paul.
Jake Reeves, the captain, has brought Wimbledon back level from the penalty spot as a handball following a corner popped into the middle, and up step Captain Reeves to make it Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 1.
So Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 1, Coventry 2, Oxford 1 already, and Millwall 0, Leicester 1. 0-0 here as Newcastle continue to press. This is a strong start from Eddie Howe's side. Newcastle out of form. Trippier playing it in, near post header. Oh, good save from Patterson. Longstaff was in there. He managed to find space on the edge of the 6-yard box. Longstaff should have scored, headed it straight at Patterson, who blocked it with his body.
That's a really good save. He's in the right place at the right time there. But up until now, Sunderland gave the ball away right at the start. They haven't got the ball back yet, and they haven't been out of their own half. They somehow have to get a foothold and calm it down. They're beginning to do that now.
That is Pat Nevin with us here at the Stadium of Light, right at the back of the stand on the dressing room side of the ground. Pat, who played in the FA Cup final. Still a great occasion. 0-0 after that Patterson save. He'll feel good about things after keeping that out. Back to Lee Blakeman at Coventry.
Coventry 3, Oxford United 1. This might well be the goal of the third round already. Casey Palmer more than 25 yards out, dead centre, top corner. Coventry 3, Oxford United 1.
Goal of the third round, Lee, after Pedro Porro last night. Better than that.
Promise you.
Right,
it's better than Pedro Porro, I promise you.
Well, there were a lot of long-range shots last night.
There were. Pico Overeed, yeah. And also, with it being the FA Cup, you can look for that. It'll not be too long before that is on the BBC Sport website and out on the football pages, so you can mark Lee's words. Newcastle should have scored their opening goal, Pat.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good move. Keeper's right in the right place there. But one of the big signs before the start of the game from the Sunderland fans to our right here was these young lads walk in the footsteps of legends, and I think young being the important word there, because you know, they are young, there's a lot of pressure just now. Okay, they've played a lot of games, but this is something that a lot of them haven't seen or experienced before, and they've been put under pressure. They've held so far.
They have, and it is 0-0. This is 5 Live. If you're on the move on this Saturday afternoon, this first sporting weekend of 2024, as Ekwar tries a shot from distance, that's blocked on the edge of the box by Botman. It took a little while to get it away. Cher eventually moved across his colleague and lifted the ball away, but that's Sunderland's first attempt from distance by Ekwar. He's maybe heard about all of these goals going in from long distance. Now first time to see Jack Clark, Sunderland's top scorer, plays it through to Neil near the edge of the penalty area. Then Elise, his ball in field straight into the path of Bruno Guimaraes, who plays it away. Excellent challenge from Pritchard to at least prevent Newcastle from breaking downfield, and then Gordon is put under a lot of pressure by Hume, who comes snapping in with the challenge on Anthony Gordon. It goes through for a Newcastle goal kick, but that's what they wanted to see the Weirsiders. That's what they wanted to see their team do to Newcastle.
Very meaty challenge there, and to get that sort of row for just a tackle, nothing more than that, a tackle. Didn't even get a corner kick, anything out of it. The referee stopped the play here. I wonder what he's won. I didn't see anything off the field.
Pat, there's no VAR here. If you haven't clocked it, if you're listening, some of the matches today will have VAR, some won't, and this will be a curious tie in that it could potentially be no VAR today, but there would be VAR if it were to go to a replay at St James's Park. So still we've got a stoppage here, and it's not entirely clear what this is all about.
One of the Sunderland players has come over at the left hand side. I don't think it's that. He's had a word with Kieran Trippier, and he's also taken the Sunderland captain to have a little word to explain to him what's going on as well. He should tell us.
Unless it's an issue of communication, which I think it is, because the assistant that should be on this side of the field, Mark Perry, has actually gone off the field, so it must be an issue with communication. So we've got a stoppage in play just at the moment. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 0. That was a big chance for Newcastle that they had with Longstaff, who really ghosted in. Excellent midfield play, actually. Unmarked, edge of the 6-yard box, but could only head it straight at Patterson. The assistant's coming back, will be underway very shortly. There is only one match of the early kickoffs today without a goal so far. Is that still the case, Chris Coles?
It is still the case, John, although Maidstone very nearly changed that. 0-0 with Stevenage, the team lowest ranked in the tournament, left in, and they very nearly took the lead. Lamar Reynolds' header, well saved by Tay Ashby-Hammond. They are giving this a real go. 21 minutes in, Maidstone 0, Stevenage 0.
And we're also keeping across the League One match, which is underway. Fleetwood 0, Derby County 0. But Sunderland 0, Newcastle 0. So after all of the hurly-burly, Pat, for the first 5 minutes, that communication problem for the officials meant that we've had a little moment to take stock.
Don't think it'll last, John.
I don't either.
Gordon's got the ball there. That's his first chance to run at a defender. Shows he's got real pace, but lots of help around there. If you're Hume, you know you're going to have a hard game on today, because Gordon's such a good player and plays with such pace when he's at his best. But you get lots of help over there.
You've had a couple of excellent Saturdays, haven't you, here for this occasion? This time last week I was listening to you alongside Vicky Sparks at the Old Firm match.
Don't ask me to compare. Don't want to make too many enemies.
Longstaff, long pass, but over the top of Isak and through for goalkeeper Patterson. You mentioned the new Sunderland manager, Michael Beale, who's just returning to his seat with his hands in the pockets of his coat. His record in Old Firm derbies when he was the Rangers manager, there were only 6. He won only 1 and lost 4 of them. And the one that he won was actually just after Ange Postecoglou's team had clinched the league title. I think you were there.
Yeah, I was at that game. And it's, I suppose he knows that it's another game, but it's a game against your rivals. It makes a difference in how you're looked upon by the media, but the fans as much as anything else. Hands aboard.
This only his 5th match as the Sunderland manager, and he didn't get a particularly warm welcome after replacing the popular Tony Mowbray. It is Sunderland with the ball on the right hand side, and Russin plays it back to the halfway line. Long pass from Ekwa, but Clark, as it drops over his shoulder, can't get there, and it bounces through. But there's warm applause from the Sunderland supporters from the pass from Pierre Ekwa in centre field. Another one of these young Sunderland players. Patterson's 23, the goalkeeper. Hume 21, Elise at left back 22, Ekwa's 21, Dan Neal's 22, Bellingham's only 18, Jack Clark 23. That's how young they are.
Exactly, and that huge big poster they had at the right hand side, they put that up beforehand, and it really is important that if you go and play those sort of players, have the capabilities built with this sort of pressure. So far they look comfortable with it. They don't look and talk shaken. They want on the ball. Every one of those players you mentioned wants on the ball, happy to take it under pressure. So that's certainly one hurdle they've got over.
Yeah, long pass from Trippier, but that was overhit, bounced through to the Sunderland goalkeeper, very highly thought of. Here's Gordon now into a challenge on the halfway line, bounces back to the Botman, who passes it calmly in between two Sunderland players to Bruno Guimaraes. The sun is trying to come out on Weir side as Newcastle go back, all the way back to their goalkeeper Dubravka, who passes it out to Bruno Guimaraes, who's dropped into quite a deep position. Now he has space to take it forward towards the halfway line, gives it infield towards Almiron, who's popped up in a central area, then through the middle to Isak. The Newcastle top scorer is fouled by O'Neill, the Sunderland captain, and it's a free kick 5 or 6 yards inside the Sunderland half.
I've mentioned this many times before, but referees always disagree. But there are rules and there are FA Cup rules. You get away with a little bit more in FA Cup, particularly in these sort of occasions. The referees don't really want to go to the pocket too early, so you do see some crunching tackles, and Isak got one on him there.
Yeah, although the referee is Craig Pawson, who was the video assistant referee on Thursday night when Dominic Calvert-Lewin was sent off. Back doing the job in the middle today, and Dan Burn might be caught for pace here against Hume. The two of them together. Burn stabs it away, went down together, got up together, haven't cleared it away, but Longstaff now on the edge of the box. Sean Longstaff, born in North Shields, he knows what this is all about. As a spectator, this is the first time that he's been involved in it as a player, and what a chance he had to score the opening match. The Newcastle, one of the Newcastle fans in this United team. Here he is again, Longstaff, short fair hair, turns, and then a right-footed ball looking for the run through the middle of Anthony Gordon. That is intercepted by Ballard for Sunderland. Newcastle again though with Almiron down the right-hand side, Trippier on the overlap, and then Ballard comes in with an excellent challenge to block the cross and put it out for a throw.
One of the big things about this game, and it's clear right from the start, the four battles, as in the four wingers against the four fullbacks, it's going to be key today. And each one of them have had a moment, you know, I'm just watching, I thought Hume might be under pressure, but he then flew forward just a moment ago as well. So both areas, both sides are going to be really interesting.
Newcastle with Longstaff, left-footed cross, two Sunderland players went for it, headed away, nodded back in by Byrne, cleared away by Sunderland to Bruno Guimaraes. Then Guimaraes again on his right foot, but 30 yards out, best part of 30 yards, quickly closed down by Bellingham. So Newcastle have to start again, and in fact they lose possession, and Bellingham is then challenged, but he keeps his feet, and then slides in Bellingham on Bruno Guimaraes. The referee's given that as a free kick, but I think that's the right decision. It had got away from him, it was all becoming a bit frantic in there, and he went in stretching on Bruno Guimaraes. Free kick 30 yards out.
Again, the confidence of Bellingham. He did get caught in the ball, but he wasn't going to panic when he was under pressure. He wanted to take the ball, he wanted to hold on to it. But you will find out, playing against the top players, you will not get that time easily.
And on a day like today, in that area, in the central area, the middle of midfield, there's going to be so little space.
There has been so far. A couple of really hefty tackles in there as well, but we're just looking at Ekwa in particular. He wants on the ball every single time. Dan Neil doesn't mind a tackle, but Bellingham, he's the one that wants a bit of space. He feels as if he can create from there.
Well, it's going to be Kieran Trippier, Pat, 30 yards out. He's not scored since the free kick right at the start of last season against Manchester City. I've said that time and time again this season. Sooner or later, Trippier, because he's so good from these, is going to find the net.
It's on the edge though, isn't it? It is. Another 2 yards and he wouldn't have a goal.
Yeah. Almost quarter of an hour played. It's Sunderland 0, Newcastle 0. Newcastle with a long-range free kick. Trippier stands, now runs up through the wall, took a deflection which took the pace off it, and goalkeeper Patterson was able to drop forward and claim it securely.
It's hard to tell if he was trying to go over the wall and just hit it poorly, or else he saw a gap and went for it there. Either way, got a deflection. I think the keeper was very, very happy it took the pace off that, because that's what the keepers hate most, when it gets deflected at pace.
So Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 0. There is a choice of listening, by the way. The Millwall-Leicester match is on Sports Extra right now, so you can listen to the commentary on that. These are two of our 12 FA Cup third round commentaries that we're bringing you on BBC Radio 5 Live and Sports Extra. And it is Sunderland with Bellingham just over the halfway line. It bounces away from Elise, and Newcastle have got it back. Adji Elise, the former West Ham United youngster who's been out for a long spell with injury since the end of last season, came back, started here against Preston on New Year's Day. That was his first appearance of the season, played the first 70 minutes of the match. There was a thought that maybe Sealt would come in for him, but Michael Beale has decided he is sticking with Elise. So important player for them, can play in central defence but currently at left back.
Well, he's been asked a question just now because Almiron's moved. He's went into a 10 position at the moment, which is allowing Trippier to go and hammer up that right wing. So interesting little change there from Eddie Howe. Doesn't often do that.
No, that's a real rarity, isn't it? So that's giving Michael Beale something to think about. So Joe Linton and Almiron, very much the advanced two through the middle as Newcastle overhit the pass out towards the far side. Byrne can't get there, so it's a throw in to Sunderland. In the early kick-off in League One, it is Fleetwood 0, Derby County 1. So that the 12:30 kick-off. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 0 remains the score here. Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 1, Coventry 3, Oxford 1, and Millwall 0, Leicester 1. Gillingham Sheffield United is our 3 o'clock kick-off on this FA Cup third round Saturday. So Ian Dennis and Nathan Jones will bring you the commentary, but we'll obviously have all of the news, all of the goals from all of the matches. Here Newcastle come with Almiron, who couldn't find the pass out to the right hand side to Longstaff. Elise was able to block it. Now Elise, tall and strong, over the halfway line, but Trippier right next to him muscled him off the ball, and it ran out of play for a throw in to Newcastle. 0-0.
It's very noticeable when you're chatting there. Joe Bellingham, he lost the ball again. Now that's actually 3 times you've lost the ball, and he's a little bit deep in midfield to do that. That's not where you want to lose the ball against really talented players that only need the odd chance here and there. So we need to be a little bit stronger on the ball now.
Gordon trying to pick out the pass to Isak, who might have been offside, but no flag, no VAR. And anyway, in any case, the two central defenders, O'Nien and Ballard, were able to deal with it and win the ball back. Now it's the two Newcastle central defenders at the other end. Botman, who was caught there. Clark, just as he volleyed it away downfield, Clark came in. Referee Parsons given the free kick to Newcastle, and Clark comes across, but Botman has really felt that. And this could be a yellow card.
Yeah, he's given himself time, the referee. He's really thinking it through. And it is clearly one of those, I mean, we've not got a kind of replay here that we can see that closely, but he's clearing the ball with his left foot, and he's trying to stop the clearance. It doesn't look vicious or nasty, but he's no doubt caught him. And he has caught him. I don't think there's much doubt about that. But it's a follow through of your boot. The amount of times that happens, he's saying to the referee, I have to go for the ball. I can't help it if he falls through.
He had to go for the ball, and it's not a yellow card.
I'm kind of happy with that.
And I'm happy with that.
Yeah, very happy with that. It's quite often, as I say, Premier League, probably get a yellow card for that. FA Cup, probably not.
Champions League,
definitely.
Absolutely, definitely. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 0. So the first time these teams have played each other for almost 8 years, but the first time they played each other in the FA Cup since 1956, when Newcastle were shocked at St James's Park. Sunderland went and beat them. Len Shackleton and all. Sunderland won 2-0. The big controversy that week was that Newcastle put up the prices in the paddocks and outraged the home supporters. There were 15,000 Sunderland fans at St James's Park that day, and a 60,000 plus crowd. So all of these matches always have a little bit of controversy. On this occasion, as I'm sure you'll know, it was all about the repainting of the hospitality boxes in the Newcastle end. So Sunderland 0, Newcastle 0. Botman's okay, and now Gordon's been fouled by Hume on the halfway line, and Hume is now is flirting with a yellow card, but I think that will only be a free kick. So 0-0 here. Back to Maidstone, the team right at the bottom of the pyramid, still in the FA Cup, playing against Stevenage. Chris Coles.
It is 0-0 here as well, John, but Maidstone continue to create the better chances. Lamar Reynolds again, a header at the back post, well found by Sam Corn. Reynolds heading just wide, might have done better. 12 minutes to play until half-time. Maidstone 0, Stevenage 0.
No yellow card for Hume yet.
The way he walked away from it there, he felt as if he did very, very little to Gordon.
Trippier on the right, high cross in towards the back post, but Hume jumping high with Gordon. And the Newcastle man Gordon has got the ball in the full-back position. Back it comes to Bruno Guimaraes. Then back to the arriving Cher, who passes it to Trippier, who took a heavy touch. He's going to do well to keep the ball in. Well, he did keep the ball in. Sunderland fans don't think he did. Trippier then finds Bruno Guimaraes. He couldn't thread it into the area. That was blocked by Bellingham. Guimaraes again driving into the box. Shot with the outside of his boot. It was blocked by the defender, Ballard. Newcastle are shouting for a handball. Referee pauses and says no. And Sunderland have cleared it away downfield. And with no VAR, that's the end of that.
Well, the angle for us isn't great, so we can't see it clearly because the body's in the way. But watching the reaction from Guimaraes, they asked for it and then they just stopped right away. So it couldn't be that clear.
And then there's a foul on Rusin on the halfway line by Bruno Guimaraes, and it is a free kick to Sunderland. 0-0 here on Weir side in South London. Aaron Paul.
10 to the break. Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 1. Wimbledon looking pretty comfortable with whatever Ipswich are trying to throw at them. Nathan Broadhead has had the best opportunity, scooping effort off the left over Alex Bass's crossbar. Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 1.
And excellent to hear about Dave Bassett being presented to the crowd before the match there, as Bellingham is tackled by Almiron, who slid in from behind. Almiron then stabs it forward, and then Longstaff clatters into Elise as he launched the ball downfield, and the two of them just get up, clasp hands and get on with it.
Yeah, FA Cup day. We can see those sort of tackles in this game, and the referee lets it go. And I think it was nice. Both of them went for the ball, got it clean, no complaints. They now know that the referee's not going to blow up for every single thing, so the players react to that. They don't roll about every single given opportunity, so it is making it for a livelier game. And also there's a bit of that, if you spend your time rolling about in the middle of a derby match, you don't make great friends in the stands.
Misplaced Newcastle pass straight out of play from Botman.
I've just seen a replay of that, and it was never handball. And
the handball that shout that Newcastle had, it hit Ballard with his arm tucked into his body.
I did notice they mentioned in there that it was Dave Besant, not Dave Bassett.
Yes, Dave Besant.
Yes, it was.
Of course, the cup final penalty saving goalkeeper. And there's actually well, can I call it a dubious statue of Dave Besant outside the ground? So the real thing's far better.
Art critique as well.
Yeah, the former Newcastle goalkeeper. Here's Almiron now to the right hand side. Trippier with a low ball in, scooped over the top by Longstaff. Arriving, got there ahead of Ballard, but lifted it over the top of the bar from 6 yards.
Twice he's got to almost exactly the same position that time. It's a tough chance for him. It's bounced just in front of him. He's taking it in the half volley. He has to pull it behind him slightly to try and get it on target. Goes over the top, but you've got to say he's had the two best chances of the game so far. For all the hard work and all the effort and doing all the right things, Sunderland, they really haven't laid a glove on that defence, and certainly Dubravka has very, very little, if anything, to do.
On the subject of goalkeepers coming back to their former clubs for FA Cup ties, guess who's here today to see Sunderland against Newcastle? None other than Jordan Pickford.
Oh, yes.
Newcastle supporters, well, probably public enemy number one. And the word is that Jordan Pickford will be on the pitch at half-time to make the draw, as long as things are going okay for Sunderland. So that is definitely one to look out for. As Isak, inside his own half, lifts the pass towards the left-hand side. And now Bruno Guimaraes helps it on into Hume, and it bounces out of play for a throw into Newcastle on the halfway line. So yeah, we are quarter of the way through the match. It has been full tilt, but only two clear chances so far, both of them to one of the Geordies, Sean Longstaff, a header and a shot over the top of the bar. Newcastle come again, ball into the area. Ballard comes across, and he's just going to do well actually to hurdle the ball with Almiron chasing it, and it's through for a goal kick.
Yeah, they're really self-pairing at the back there, aren't they, Ballard and Onion? And they look very, very strong, understand each other's positioning really well. To be honest, the one that's really caught the eye is Hume. He's had a really interesting start to the game. He's playing against Anthony Gordon. but he's not just sitting marking him. He wants to run off him as well. Taking a few chances, but I like what I've seen from him so far.
Another FA Cup goal at Millwall. Becky Ives.
What a bizarre game. Millwall 0, Leicester 2. They've had 2 chances and both times put the ball in the back of the net. This time Ricardo Pereira latching on for a ball from midfield, cut it back across goal into the bottom corner, but Millwall have been much the better side this first half with nothing to show for it. Millwall 0, Leicester 2.
Newcastle coming forward again. They've been on top. Isak through the middle, but Ballard is across to head the ball out of play. Daniel Ballard, he's one of the Northern Ireland internationals, along with Hume. Ballard, the former Arsenal youngster, as Newcastle go back towards the halfway line and into their own half. Newcastle, whose recent form has been so disappointing. They've lost the last 3 Premier League matches, knocked out of the Carabao Cup in the quarter-finals when they were leading in the 2nd minute of added time. Misplaced pass from Bruno Guimaraes, out of play, throw into Sunderland. Back to Wimbledon, Aaron Paul.
Ipswich retake the lead, Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 2. It's a first town goal for Axel Tuan Zabi as he just heads the ball past the goalkeeper following a bobble, and again more poor defending from Wimbledon. Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 2.
So coming into this, Newcastle having lost 6 of their last 8 in all competitions, and 7 of their last 8 if you count the defeat on penalties as a loss. Trippier into the challenge, bounces down, Cher comes across and gets there ahead of Clark. Sunderland have not been able to get Clark into the match at all yet.
No, they can't, and it's important they do, because if he can drag the game that a little bit further up the field, then that will allow chances for Bellingham to get the ball where he wants to get it. But at the moment, just losing it in midfield, not really getting a foothold, trying their very, very best, but at the moment when it goes up front, it's just not sticking.
No, but the ball is on the left hand side with Sunderland going forward, but headed away, comes down to Dan Neil, and he deflects it out of play for a throw-in to the red and white stripes. Jack Clark just standing near the edge of the penalty area. 12 goals this season, that is already his personal best. Great things were expected of him as when he was very young, when he was in his teens. Leeds United he came through. Do you remember Tottenham spent a lot of money on him, around about £10 million. Didn't happen from there, been out on loan, but it is happening for him at Sunderland, and there is certainly interest in what he's done and the way that he's scored his goals and set up goals as well as he did here against Preston on Monday. So that's Jack Clark, but it's Newcastle coming forward. Their centre forward Isak, it goes down rather easily against O'Nien. He has Ekwa centre field, hair stacked up on the top of his head, to his central defensive partner Dan Neil. Neil just keeping the ball, he's on his right foot. He's from South Shields, Dan Neil. Out to the right hand side it goes to Hume, then it comes back to Ekwa centrally, left footed ball lifted into the box, but Dubravka comes and makes a comfortable catch near the edge of his 6-yard box, still goalless.
And again, that's Hume, he's getting up on that right wing there, he's dragging Anthony Gordon back there, saying, I know you're quick, but I think I can get back with you when there's an opportunity. Maybe the best position that Sunderland have got into in the game so far, but couldn't make anything out of it. Bit of a problem at centre forward, you know, they chop and change at centre forward quite a lot, Sunderland, and you know, if you're not going to be able to hold the ball, he's not the tallest player, Rusyn. At the moment, he's not had a great effect in the game. It's tough for him.
Yeah, that's where they've struggled this season, scoring goals from centre forward. The one that Rusyn scored on Monday was the first goal a Sunderland centre forward had scored since April. And when your centre forwards are not scoring, then clearly that's a problem.
And they had a centre forward last season who was scoring a lot of goals before he got injured, and he's now at Southampton.
That's right, and of course Ahmed Diallo as well really weighed in with goals from the right hand side last season, now back at Manchester United. Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 0. You'll hear the Manchester United commentary on Monday night, Wigan against Manchester United. That's when the 4th round draw will take place, about 10 minutes before it gets underway, so join us for that on Monday. But here, 0-0, and Bruno Guimaraes in the centre circle to Cher to his right, and pulls the ball back into his own half. Trippier standing just behind him. Trippier was missing on Monday night against Liverpool, but keep Kieran Trippier out of this if you can. I'm absolutely certain he'll be determined to play through this recent dip in form that he's had. Here's Botman, he's missed much of the season through injury. Up towards Isak with his 11 goals this season in all competitions, scored some important ones. Still Newcastle in possession, looking for that long pass again from Cher, but that's beyond the run of Almiron. harmlessly through to goalkeeper Patterson for Sunderland.
You know, technically, I know exactly what I'm trying to do there. Almiron runs inside, but he's only dragging the player away. He actually doesn't want the ball there. The space was for Trippier. He should have been found, and he wasn't.
I thought today Livramento would be in the team for Newcastle. I thought he'd find a way to get him in the team, but only on the bench. And you know, he's had relatively little football, so maybe Eddie Howe just thought today is the time to put him on the bench, give him a rest.
He's been very, very impressive. But I suppose one thing you can say about Eddie now, he's beginning to get one or two options. You know, it's a lot of the time there's no options, and then of course up front today you wonder where he was going to go for. Well, there's no choice, he has to go for Isak, doesn't he?
Yeah, Wilson on the injured list. Here's Ekwa. Elise receives the ball, then crosses the halfway line. Now Jack Clark taking on Trippier, who was tight on him, but Clark in the popular style with his socks down near his calves, dispossessed by Almiron. Almiron plays it through to Isak. Ballard in with a challenge on Isak, who goes down on the edge of the box. The ball ran through to goalkeeper Patterson, who picks it up, and Craig Pawson says, play on.
Well, to say, if this is mostly Newcastle fans in here, you'll be hearing a lot more about that right now.
That was at St James's Park.
It's given. I honestly really looked that way. I mean, well, the no VAR is incredible, isn't it? It changes everything. This game would be stopped now. We'd be looking if there was the slightest touch, and if there was, the referee would have a big decision to make. But because of that lack of certainty of it, he's thought, no, I'm not sure. It looked like a tug back, but maybe he would argue both were tugging at each other. May the listener let us know. We can let them know.
Just seeing an angle now, Pat,
where he's put his hand across. I have to say, if I'm a forward there, I want a penalty kick.
Oh, okay. Sort of tangled arms, this sort of hooked arms as they were running.
But Isak was ahead. Isak's ahead. Why would he do that? You know, he's only half a yard ahead, but he's ahead. So I think Newcastle fans would be understandably upset about that.
Going to make a note of it, Pat, certainly. Isak with Ballard, no penalty. That was on the half hour. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 0, as Isak is challenged by O'Neill, and then Jack Clark is fouled. So that's a free kick, and Newcastle protesting about this. It's Sean Longstaff who's complaining about it to referee Pawson, that the free kick is given to Sunderland.
It's very old school, isn't it? When with the lack of VAR, and you're thinking, you know, if you've got a home crowd with the pressure, and it's a tricky decision, and you're not 100%, you simply won't give it. We're having another little look at it here.
Yeah, and Ballard did have a hold. He had a handful of Isak's shirt, and then let it go as he fell.
Can we be absolutely honest about it? If you're a Sunderland fan, never a penalty. If you're a Newcastle fan, absolute stick on.
And that, Pat Nevin, sums it up perfectly.
Exactly.
Free kick, Pritchard takes it for Sunderland. Referee spotted an infringement on the edge of the box, fouled by Sunderland, by Bellingham, I think. And it's a free kick to Newcastle on the edge of their own box. And straight to Maidstone, because Chris Coles?
Because Maidstone have a penalty in first half stoppage time. Jacob Barkley-Ajapong fouled. Sam Corn steps up and scores to give the lowest ranked side in the competition the lead against League One Stevenage. Fine penalty, top corner. It's Maidstone 1, Stevenage 0.
And there you are. FA Cup magic arrives in Maidstone.
You've got the bingo card out yet? Tick that one off.
Yes, absolutely. So that is Maidstone United of National League South looking at a place in the fourth round of the FA Cup. Maidstone leading Stevenage by 1-0. I know Mason Burstow, who is on the bench for Sunderland today, on loan from Chelsea, he was at Maidstone United for a spell early in his career, well, still early in his career, but earlier in his career, as Newcastle play it forward. That's a lovely pass from Byrne. Gordon's got away from Hume, the cross is deflected, a stretch and clear, and then clear over the crossbar from the arriving Longstaff on the edge of the box. And again, the Newcastle chance falls to their midfielder, who couldn't put it in the net, high over the top.
Well, number one, Anthony Gordon, brilliant play there, uses his pace, this time just pure intelligence, goes short, then long, ball slid through to him, Hume's caught out there, and he plays the ball back. To be honest, I mean, we're a long way away from it here, John. I actually do think it took a wee bobble just before he came to on his left foot, and he's just skied over the top there. He could have had a hat-trick winner.
Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 0. BBC Radio 5 Live, BBC Sounds, FA Cup third round Saturday. In League One, it's now Fleetwood 0, Derby 2, and the latest scores in the other matches: Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 2, Coventry 3, Oxford United 1. We've not had a goal in that match for about 15 minutes. Millwall 0, Leicester 2. Half-time approaching in these matches, and it is half-time in what could be one of these stories of this weekend, Chris Coles.
Very much so. The upset is on at the Gallagher Stadium. Maidstone of National League South leading League One Stevenage by a 1-0. Sam Corn's penalty in first half stoppage time. It's a deserved lead as well. Stevenage have not threatened. Maidstone 1, Stevenage 0.
And Newcastle are in front at the Stadium of Light, and it is an own goal. Ballard desperate in the middle as the ball came in from Joe Linton on the left-hand side. Ballard trying to prevent it from reaching Isak, and all he could do was deflect it into his own net. The goal had been coming for Newcastle, but for Sunderland, it's an own goal. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 1.
Well, we have to be absolutely honest about it. If he doesn't go and try and touch that there, it's going to be tapped in by Isak anyway. So it needs to go for it. It needs to try and do something about it. It's a great ball across the box there. The nightmare keeper can't come for it. Real pace, but around the 6-yard line. But once again, it's come down the left-hand side. Hume, who I was impressed by early on, he's been caught twice in the last minute or two, and that's led to the goal. Great ball in there from the right-hand side there. I think it was left-hand side. That was Joe Linton, wasn't it? But it would have been a tap-in for Isak.
Yeah, and Ballard, he's devastated by that. He lay on the pitch for some moments, and his teammates had to come and pick him up. And Ballard now is standing with his hand on the bridge of his nose as he was facing his own goal, 4 or 5 yards out. It was whipped in at that sort of knee height by Joe Linton from the left-hand side. He knew, as Pat Nevin says, that Isak was behind him, and it flew off his shin into his own net to make it 1-0 to Newcastle.
He'll never forget that. There's no doubt he'll never forget that, but every single defender, particularly centre-back, will tell you they know that position. They have no choice. They have got to go for that ball and try and do something with it. And I just feel very sorry for him. He's really unlucky, but that's what it's like being a centre-forward, centre-back.
Opening goal in the early kick-off in League 2 as well. The 1 o'clock kick-off. Harrogate Town are leading Doncaster Rovers by 1-0 at Wetherby Road. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 1 then. And it is the unfortunate Daniel Ballard who becomes the first man to score in a Sunderland-Newcastle derby match since Alexander Mitrovic back in 2016, the 1-1 draw in the Premier League at St James's Park.
I know he'll get all the comments because he scored the own goal. The mistake was at fullback. That's where the mistake was. You get caught inside twice in a row within a couple of minutes. Got a great ball in this, and now there's beginning to develop a real gap out there on the left-hand side. Newcastle can smell it. There is a problem there now.
Yeah, Sunderland needed this match to get to half-time because Newcastle had been the better side. Dubravka's barely been extended at the other end of the pitch, and that goal coming in the 35th minute, and now Newcastle scenting the possibility of a second goal, and if they go 2-0 up in this match, then that is a long road back for Michael Beale's Sunderland team. Eddie Howe must have been nervous coming into this game, the potential of what could happen to his team. In wretched form all season, they've struggled away from home. Doncaster Rovers have equalised against Harrogate Town, so that is 1-1. And half-time at Wimbledon, Aaron Paul.
Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 2, a Josh Davison own goal and an Axel Tuanzebe header. Either side of a Jake Reeves penalty for Wimbledon sees Ipswich ahead at the break. Kieran McKenna's side have dominated but have been wasteful in places. They won't care though. Half-time, Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 2.
Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 1. And the Newcastle supporters in good cheer. I can see many of them in that stand. 6,000 of them in total are here. They all came in buses today. They were the rules, and you didn't get your ticket until you got on the bus. Sounds like something out of your school trip years ago, but that's what was deemed to be the safest way to do it, and let's hope everyone does stay safe here today. And here's Almiron now. Almiron takes it up towards the edge of the penalty area on his left foot, tried to curl it across towards Gordon. Hume stepped in, cleared it. Sunderland trying to get it away through Pritchard, but Joe Linton, the man who set up the goal, has won it back. Then Gordon goes down under the challenge on the far side from Hume, and that is a yellow card for Hume, and that's been coming all game.
They've got a problem now. I mean, Hume, I liked what he was trying to do, but he's just been too desperate on too many occasions. He got forward a few times. He's not fearful of the possession, but he's now being caught out. Positionally, it's difficult for him, and I know there was a choice between him and Sealt, and Michael Beale's gone for Sealt, and at this point in time it's looking as if it might have not been the right decision.
So it is a free kick to Newcastle on the left hand side. Got the other two half times to go to at Coventry and Millwall, but let's just see what happens with this free kick, because if this goes in, then Newcastle are in dreamland, really. 2-0 up at Sunderland, but 1-0 it is just now, and Trippier waiting to take this, directing operations from over on the far side, pointing instructions, then going down and placing the ball again.
It's also a very bad place to give a free kick away, you know, for diving in there. Newcastle, we all know, you mentioned it right at the start, John, they've got such a physical advantage, so giving away free kicks in these sort of areas is not a good idea.
Yeah, tall men, obviously Cher and Botman, but Byrne as well, such a presence, 6'7", as he would be, and Sunderland holding their line, middle of the penalty area, but Trippier waiting to take this. 5 minutes to go to half time. Trippier swills it into the near post and it's headed away. Well done, Ballard. He got up, the man who scored the own goal, and twisting his head nodded it out for a corner from the right hand side. Before they take it, half time at Millwall, Becky Ives.
Millwall 0, Leicester 2, and it's not often you say the better team are behind. Plenty of chances, nothing to show for it. As for Leicester, they've been pretty poor on the whole by their standards, but 2 goals, 2 attacks. Cassidy with the first, Ricardo Pereira with the second, means they're 2-0 up. The Den is in stunned silence. Millwall 0, Leicester 2.
That's the Sports Extra commentary match. Kieran Trippier, I think he knew exactly what he was doing there. He placed the ball outside the quadrant and caused a reaction from the Sunderland supporters. Then puts it in the right place, and Trippier's corner into the edge of the 6-yard box. Ballard did well, got his head to that again for Sunderland. Comes out to Isak on the far side, then back to Gordon nearer the halfway line. Long right-footed ball from him towards the edge of the area. Byrne is beaten in the air by O'Neill. Newcastle though with Cher, who's on the right wing, and Byrne likewise. Cher and Byrne, unlikely right wingers, and in the end Byrne can't keep it in, and it's out of play for a goal kick. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 1. Half-time news from Coventry, Lee Blakeman.
Coventry 3, Oxford United 1, all 4 goals coming in the first 17 minutes. Casey Palmer for Coventry with the best of the bunch from more than 25 yards out into the top corner. One of the goals of the round to make it Coventry 3, Oxford United 1.
Hang on a minute. One of the goals of the round.
I noticed that too.
One of definitely. Definitely the goal of the round.
It's now the goal of the round. Okay, very good. It's been reinstated, Pat, by Lee. Well done. So look out for that. As I say, you should be able to find it on the BBC Sport website, and Phil McNulty is here today, so he'll be writing about this first Sunderland-Newcastle match for 8 years. You'll find that on the football pages. FA Cup highlights on Match of the Day tonight, BBC One, and anytime on iPlayer, of course, if you want to see it all packaged up. Here's Joe Linton through the middle. Joe Linton through to Gordon. He just couldn't take that on. Maybe half a step more and he might have been in. But he's up against Hume now. Hume on the yellow card. Gordon, though, back to Longstaff on the edge of the box. Square to Bruno Guimaraes. Then it's back to Trippier, who puts his foot on the yellow ball. Curls it into the box looking for Gordon. O'Neill wins that. He's been fouled by Gordon and wins the free kick inside his own box.
I mentioned before the game, just 5-10 minutes into it, with the wide players, it's going to be so important. You know how good Gordon is. You know, you've got young fullbacks there. Almirion's not had a huge effect in this game. We were wondering if it was going to be a big effect by Jake Clark as well. Not a massive effect in the game. But Gordon now, he's seen where the problem is. He's spotted it. He knows he's got the pace. He knows he's playing against a fullback. He's getting a little bit too squaring him time and again. And when he's on the ball, he's diving in. He's giving away free kicks. And when he's not on the ball, he's leaving a gap for Gordon to run into, and it's causing all sorts of problems for that Sunderland defence.
Foul on Ballard by Isak, who threw in a dive for good measure, but he was fouled. Ekwa up to Pritchard. You see, we've not seen Pritchard at all on the other side either for Sunderland, because we haven't seen enough of Sunderland in the Newcastle half, but still just one goal in it. Dan Neil does well in centre field, steps away from Guimaraes and Joe Linton. Now Neil, right-footed ball that comes off Longstaff, could have gone anywhere on the edge of the box, but fell to a teammate. Newcastle cleared. In slides Ekwa, but the ball comes out for the black and white stripes. Gordon misplaces a pass, just a little scruffy there as half-time approaches, and Clark will go all the way back to his goalkeeper. So the big story, really, the fact that Maidstone United are winning. The lowest placed team in the pyramid still left in the FA Cup. They are winning 1-0 against Stevenage, so we'll be all over that, of course, during the course of the next hour or so to see which way that goes. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 1. Commentary from Gillingham, Sheffield United on 5 Live later. Southampton Walsall is on Sports Extra. Then 5:30 it's to Middlesbrough for the Middlesbrough Aston Villa commentary match at 5:30, which is also on BBC One and the iPlayer. And Chelsea Preston is on Sports Extra. So a rich choice today from the FA Cup third round, the Emirates FA Cup third round. Ballard clearing away. Joe Linton challenges for it, bounces down. Bruno Guimaraes just outside the area. Then in came Hume, in came 09. So the pass out towards the left hand side. Gordon now 35 yards from goal. Bruno Guimaraes curls one in, and then Almiron shoots across the face of goal on the fall, on his left instep, and it bounces wide of the far post.
That would have been goal of the FA Cup third round.
One of.
Yeah, but he didn't catch it clean enough, but did all the right things there, got into the right position. But these last 4 or 5 minutes, certainly since the goal was scored, the confidence has just sapped away from Sunderland. They cannot seem to hold the ball in the midfield at all. And they need to get Bellingham, they need to get Ekwa, they need to get Neil, they need to get closer together, hold the ball, get a foothold. You have to give your defenders some sort of a break, and you have to give your wide players a little bit of the ball in some sort of interesting areas high up the field. They've just not done that.
3 minutes of added time at the end of the first half. 5 Live, BBC Sounds, 1-0 Newcastle lead. Here comes Gordon on the left hand side. Gordon approaching the corner of the box, then turns, gives it back to Bruno Guimaraes, who passes it behind the Brazilian. Newcastle come again through the middle, but Neil's in with a challenge. Bellingham as well. Sunderland with Ekwa, he has to clip it away up towards Pritchard, but it bounces off his knee, and Newcastle have got it back. An interesting little sideshow that's going on here back up in the media benches is that, as well as our commentary, Radio Newcastle are offering commentary, 2 different commentaries. The Sunderland commentary with Nick Barnes to my left, Gary Bennett's with him, but also the Newcastle commentary, which is down in front of us with Matthew Raisbeck and John Anderson, who are commentating right in front of the back row of Sunderland fans. And I notice on 1 or 2 occasions, notably the penalty, that Sunderland fans turning around and raising an eyebrow towards them. So I think we can probably...
I would love to put those 2 goal commentaries together.
Yes. Here's Almiron on the right hand side. Almiron cutting in comes the challenge from Elise, but he managed to get the pass away to Isak. Now forward from Byrne on 9 is heading it away. Byrne towering over Pritchard, puts his foot in, wins the ball back for Newcastle. Bruno Guimaraes then puts it out of play because there's a Newcastle man down on the halfway line needing some treatment.
Can't see who it was. It Joe Linton? Yeah. He's the one I can't see up just now.
Yeah,
you see a great deal of it. I mean, the referee has let it flow quite a lot, and there have been a few tackles that have flown in that normally they're going to be given a free kick. You know what it's like, but they've not been given today. It has allowed the game to flow a little bit more. It has suited Newcastle more, because whatever that flow does, at the moment Sunderland, they're being outplayed. They're not getting the ball in the final third at all. So Michael Beale, he just wants to get to half time now, doesn't he? If he can get to half time, he'll have to look at it. Does he change the system? Certainly personnel needs to be tweaked a little bit, because at the moment there's not even the hint of a glove being laid on Newcastle. They're in control.
It's gone the way it should have gone, man for man. And, you know, as we've said, and it's been said here up in the northeast of England all week, this is a free hit for Sunderland. There's no pressure on them, nothing to lose. And there was, without question, pressure on Newcastle in the form that they've been in. Everyone knows how disappointing they've been so often away from home this season. Eddie Howe on the worst runs as the Newcastle manager since he took over the job. And Joe Linton just getting to his feet, could be in a bit of trouble. He's walking off the field on the far side. He has had a few knocks and injury problems in recent times. You know, so for Eddie Howe, this is he couldn't ask for any more than this.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he wanted. The one thing he would like is another goal.
Well,
they can relax a little bit. Yeah, and then they can calm it. But it doesn't matter how much, you know, possession you've got, how much you think you've run in the game. If it happens that it's only one goal, you know there's a possibility. It just needs a free kick, a corner, a decision, just one mistake. So they can't relax completely. But at the moment, they're looking control Newcastle.
Yep, they are in control. But there is only one goal in it. The Ballard own goal in the 35th minute. And if you just switched on to us, Maidstone United are winning against Stevenage. So National League South winning against League One. And Maidstone United could be one of the big stories. I felt in the main, you know, for me this was top of the bill by a distance, this match. Never mind Arsenal-Liverpool tomorrow, because my expectation is that you know, there probably will not be first choice teams in that match. So this was top of the bill. And what I felt in the main was quite a disappointing third round draw for what it offered. But in my experience, normally if it's a disappointing third round draw, it's very often a very good fourth round draw. And at the moment, it'll be Newcastle who will be in it from this tie, winning 1-0 at half-time against Sunderland and deserving to be ahead in the match, Pat Nevin.
Deserving to be ahead, playing fairly well. Not the best I've ever seen Newcastle playing, but it's been plenty enough so far. Michael Beale will have a look at them, will have a chat, try and lift them. They'll give 10-15 minutes to start the second half, but there needs an adaptation if they're not going to go out the FA Cup. Sunderland and those Geordie fans can go the 17 miles, is it? Back up the road very happily.
It was, Pat. I had a look before the match. 16 miles to St James's Park. It is Sunderland 0, Newcastle 1 at half-time, but it's not over yet.
No, certainly not. I suppose the thing is, Pat Nevin, Sunderland have done fairly well to stop Newcastle creating chances left, right and centre, but they don't look like scoring themselves.
They don't look like creating a chance, never mind scoring. They're not getting in the last third with any of decent ball at all. Somehow you've got to feed the wide players. Jake Clark, we know he can play, we know he can score goals, but he's not got a sniff of the ball in the final third. You know, he can say that he's playing against a player, and Trippier has played him well, but it's more than that. You can be in the best form of your career. See, if you don't get the ball, it doesn't matter. It's just not going to do anything. And that's the problem with both him and Pritchard. Roosting at the moment, just not getting a sniff against the two big centre backs. Slightly men against boys at the moment, but that's where Michael Beale has to look at it and change it.
They're a goal down, John. They could have been a man down had the penalty been given, because it would have been a shirt tug. The double jeopardy wouldn't have applied, but the game carried on. You could have argued it either way. That's not necessarily an argument for VAR.
No, it's not. And that was before Ballard scored the own goal. And it was Ballard who was involved against Isak. Listen, I think Pat called that absolutely correctly. That Sunderland fans looking at that will think absolutely not. Newcastle fans will think it was a nailed-on penalty. And as I said at the time, I suspect if that had been at St James's Park, that would have been given as a penalty.
And we got to crack on with the game, Pat.
And we did crack on with it, and you have to say, Newcastle, they knew they were going to have a little fight and a little battle. And I would say 15-20 minutes they got that. But just as a little bit more space developed and Newcastle probed at various parts, they began to see where the weaknesses were. And the weakness has been in that kind of left-hand side. Gordon's, getting the ball in those sort of areas. His intelligence is actually not just the pace. It's not just the fact that he's been back. He's went past the full-back a couple of times. It's his intelligence of movement. It's going short, then going long, and running into the space in there, and the over-covering. So just technical knowledge of top players has actually been the difference so far, and it will continue to be the difference, as I say, unless Michael Beale can look at that, that substitute bench and think he's got something special there. But if you look at both benches, I think there's probably a wee bit more special players. There are a few more special players in the Newcastle bench. So big call, but it's not over yet. Yep.
And everyone will say, yes, we got on with the game without VAR, blah, 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 and that's supporters will say, isn't that great? Until their team loses out to a horrendous decision, which VAR would have overturned.
Quite, I was just about to say. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 1. Thank you very much, chaps. Of course, second half commentary to come at the Stadium of Light. So no shock there so far. The story of the day may welcome with Maidstone United at home to League One Stevenage. Chris Coles.
It may well indeed, Steve, because the non-leaguers lead League One Stevenage by 1-0. Sam Corn's penalty, first half stoppage time. We are 3 minutes in to the second half. Stevenage have made a couple of changes. Maidstone also changing things. Steve Evans will not be happy with what he's seen because Maidstone are deserving of this 1-goal advantage. 2 excellent chances before Sam Corn's penalty, and they will fancy their chances of seeing this through. The numbers, by the way, Steve, of those watching on the footpath have gradually increased. There are even 2 hardy souls that have clambered one of the trees level with the edge of the penalty area. He doesn't look particularly safe. We'll keep an eye on him. Hopefully he stays safe, but just an idea of the interest now of those that couldn't get in the ground. They're keen to support from whatever vantage point they can find. Maidstone 1, Stevenage 0, 48 minutes.
Sounds like a really good game at Plough Lane. League 2 Wimbledon against Ipswich of the Championship. Aaron Paul.
Half decent, and Ipswich are just starting to flex their Championship muscle. They've had a huge chance at the start of this second half. Steve, great touch by Nathan Broadhead in the box to bring the ball down out of the air. He squared it left for Cam Humphreys. He drilled the ball towards goal. It was going into the corner of the net, but in slid Ryan Johnson, sliding towards goal. He's diverted it. It's hit the post. He's ended up in the back of the net. The ball's fizzed out and popped back out in towards the middle of the pitch. Wimbledon very, very lucky to survive that Ipswich onslaught. They're trying to push forward now with Aaron Sassu and Harry Pell. It is Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 2 into the second half.
Let's check in on the first all-championship tie of the day. Millwall-Leicester, Becky Ives.
Millwall 0, Leicester 2. Honestly, Leicester were terrible in the first half by their standards. They'd had 2 attacks on goal and scored with both of them. Millwall were much the better side, and they've started the second half as they ended the first half. Ryan Longman already, nice run from inside his own halfway line. Duncan Watmore just had a shot save, so they're really pushing, but nothing to show yet. Millwall 0, Leicester 2.
And to Coventry, where the goal of the third round has categorically been scored this afternoon. Lee Blakeman, you can stick to your guns as far as I'm concerned.
Well, the man who scored it, Casey Palmer, has just won Coventry City a penalty here. Coventry leading Oxford United by 3-1. Lively start to the first half, really lively start to the second. Coventry should have had a fourth already. Callum O'Hare cutting in from the left, putting a shot. Good save by keeper Simon Eastwood. You mentioned that goal scored by Casey Palmer. It was a worldie, more than 25 yards out into the top corner. But I don't know if you want to stay with me, Steve, for this penalty, because Coventry here with a chance to quite possibly wrap this game up. Standing over the ball is the aforementioned Callum O'Hare. I mentioned a few moments ago he should have scored already, less than 30 seconds into the second half. He's standing over the ball now, couple of steps back. This to make it 4-1 and to surely send Coventry through to round 4. Calm as you like, send Simon Eastwood the wrong way. Coventry 4, Oxford United 1.
So, loads of really good games in the FA Cup this afternoon. Our base at 3 o'clock is going to be Gillingham versus Sheffield United. We're at every single FA Cup match today. Later scores in League 1 in the early kick-off. Fleetwood 0, Derby County 2. That would take Derby 2 points off the automatic promotion places. And Harrogate Town 1, Doncaster Rovers 1. We'll be at Priestfield before second half commentary at the Stadium of Light after the news on 5 Live with Jill McKenzie.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you. Good afternoon. The EU Foreign Policy Chief, Josep Borrell, says it's imperative to avoid escalation in the Middle East. As he says, there's been a worrying intensification of exchange of fire across the Blue Line, which is the border between Lebanon and Israel. Mr. Borrell was speaking in Beirut as he holds talks with the Lebanese Prime Minister. The Iranian-backed militant group Hezbollah says it's launched a barrage of rockets into northern Israel after the attack in Beirut that killed a top Hamas official earlier this week. The Israeli military says there have been at least 40 launches and that it has responded. A 16-year-old boy has appeared in court, charged with the murder of 16-year-old Harry Pittman in North London on New Year's Eve. The teen was fatally stabbed on Primrose Hill as crowds gathered to watch fireworks. And an Alaska Airlines plane made an emergency landing in the US after a window panel blew out mid-flight. No one was hurt, but the operator says it's grounding its fleet of Boeing 737 MAX 9 planes. Boeing says it's working to gather more information.
BBC 5 Live, the voice of the UK.
Throughout January, 5 Live is bringing you stories about the police from around the UK.
Policing the UK on BBC 5 Live.
From new recruits on what it's like to join, to how safe people feel in their homes.
And out on the streets of Britain, hearing about your experience with the police.
Policing the UK.
On 5 Live throughout January.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport with Steve Crossman.
On 5 Live. Listen on BBC Sounds.
Sunderland 0, Newcastle 1 at the Stadium of Light. Full commentary at 5:30 of Middlesbrough versus Aston Villa. Our base at 3, though, is at Priestfield. League 2 Gillingham taking on Sheffield United of the Premier League. This is what it's all about, Ian Dennis.
Yes, looking forward to this one, Steve. Never been to Priestfield before, so it's a new ground to be ticked off the list. There are about 13 young mascots, boys and girls, who are playing in front of their watching parents on the far side of the pitch. Alan Nill is just marking out the cones for Sheffield United, who arrived just a short while ago. It's a sellout. So it'll be a crowd of around 9,000 packed into Priestfield. 1,500 will have travelled down from South Yorkshire and will hope to see their side get their first away win of the season. Whilst for Stephen Clements, in his embryonic stages of his managerial career, he'll look to try and claim a cup scalp.
There's a brilliant photo of Stephen Clements holding a mini FA Cup as a lad in the arms of his father, the great Ray Clements, who won the cup with Liverpool and Tottenham. Clements Jr. Says this competition means so much to him and his family.
It's just great, isn't it? This is it's always an exciting time of the year for football fans, where you see League 2 teams like ourselves taking on a Premier League team on their home patch. It's normally a completely different game to watch than what you see in a Premier League game. So it's exciting. It's growing up. Generally only used to be FA Cup games on the TV, probably the FA Cup final. So it's something that's always been close to my heart. And I've always enjoyed playing in it, coaching in it, and I've been that player coming down to the lower leagues and playing on maybe a pitch that isn't as good as what you're used to in the Premier League. That in itself is difficult. It is a different kind of football. Playing at the top level to playing in League 2. So, yeah, I'm sure we're going to give them something to think about. The pressure's on them. They're expected to win. We're not. But I do expect the boys to give them a good game and to have a right go and hopefully try and be in it towards the end of the game, and let's see what can happen.
Great FA Cup story, that lovely interview as well with Stephen Clements in The Guardian, talking all about that and the medals that his father gave him. It's absolutely brilliant. For Sheffield United, Ian, have you seen the new signing, Ben Brereton Diaz? He is eligible, we think.
Yes, no, I can confirm he is eligible. Right. International clearance has come through. They signed him yesterday on loan from Villarreal, the former Blackburn Rovers striker, the Chile international, and he was out on the pitch when they first arrived at around 1:30, and so I'm expecting him to be involved at some stage today.
Yeah, he could make a big difference for them, I guess. Is that what they need at the moment, do you think? More goals, more firepower?
Well, I think they'll go strong today. I mean, they do need more firepower. That's a problem for Gillingham as well of late. Since round 2, Gillingham have only scored 2 goals in 5 games, something that Stephen Clements is acutely aware of. But I'm expecting a strong side from Chris Wilder. He said yesterday that they're going to go full tilt at this. He's of the opinion that winning breeds confidence, and they are yet to win on their travels. I remember 3 years ago when he was in his first spell as a manager at Bristol Rovers, he only made the one change that particular day at Bristol Rovers. They won 3-2, and they'll look to try and navigate this tricky tie against Gillingham. But Stephen Clements, it's only his 13th game as a manager, and you talk about the article in The Guardian. I had 10 minutes with him on the phone yesterday, and I was telling him about, there was a wonderful interview that he's done for the BBC Sport website, really, really poignant, talking about his father Ray, and just saying as well that it's the one regret he has, that his dad wanted him to become a manager. Obviously, numerous years as a coach with under Steve Bruce at Hull, Sunderland, Newcastle and West Brom, but he's starting out on his own. He's enjoyed it more the last month than when he first took over at the start of December. But his family are going to be here today, and his son Jack, incidentally, because Ray was an ambassador for prostate cancer. But his son Jack is doing the Run for the Month initiative for prostate cancer, and so far he's raised £1,500. So he's very proud of his boy.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Ian. Really looking forward to that Gillingham versus Sheffield United live at 3 o'clock. There's been a goal in the All-Championship tie at the Den. Becky Ives.
There has. Duncan Watmore has got Millwall back into this tie. A header from a corner. It's been coming. You have to say they do deserve it. The noise levels in the Den have increased. Maybe they sense they could get back on level terms, but for the time being, Millwall 1, Leicester 2.
Newcastle 3, Harlequins 24, Sale 14, Bristol 22. 2 results in the Gallagher Premiership last night. That win takes Quince to the top of the pile for now. 2 matches this afternoon, including third against second, Exeter hosting Northampton. Let's bring in correspondent Chris Jones. You basically decide where you want to go, Chris. So
not quite.
You do. Let's be honest. You've gone to the story, haven't you, though?
Yeah, I mean, we were going to go to Exeter against Northampton. Both great games today, by the way. Exeter, Northampton, second against third. And then what a great fixture this is. Leicester Saracens repeat of the 2022 Premiership final. But as you say, with the news around about Owen Farrell, makes sense to go where that story is. Farrell, who, as we know, has taken an indefinite break from England duty, just for the Six Nations so far, but no one quite knows if and when he's going to return. Then a bombshell in the French media last night that he's close to agreeing a deal with Racing 92, and even though Racing came out and said no deal has been agreed, it's been telling that no one from Racing or Saracens have denied that talks have taken place, or that there is interest, or that Farrell is looking at his options. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up making a move away from Saracens and end a very long association with the club, although with maybe 3, 4, 5 years left in his career, maybe he could then come back to Saracens before moving into coaching. So a lot up in the air. We'll see if we get any comment from Saracens later, but first of all, a huge matchup against Leicester Tigers.
If that were to happen, he goes to France. Is there wider significance to that?
Yes and no, because you look at the players going across to France, and you look at Henry Arundel and Lewis Ludlam, who is tipped to go to Toulon, and the likes of David Ribbons and Joe Marchant, and players calling time prematurely on their England careers, because as we know, the RFU and England don't pick players based overseas. So if you put it in that context, you go, oh, it's another player leaving. However, Farrell has given a huge amount to English rugby. Goodness me, he's been at Saracens since a teenager, 15 years or so. He's played for England for 12 years, so maybe he just wants a change. And as we touched upon, maybe it's more of a sabbatical if he does go, and then he could come back to Saracens, because Johnny Sexton will have shown that you can play deep into your 30s if you're well looked after. When you look at the lineage of fly halves that have gone to Racing 92 over the years, Dan Carter, Sexton himself, Finn Russell, Farrell would be an excellent company if he was to make that move.
And given you made the hard decision not to go to Exeter Northampton, that should be a belter, but now it'll probably be an all-time classic.
Yeah, exactly. I'm expecting 35 points all at Sandy Park. But look at this table. I mean, you look at the Harlequins, they went top last night. They're on 36 points. Saracens are in 6th, just 5 points behind Quins. Leicester need a win to keep pace with the top 6. Bristol had a great win last night. It is an incredibly competitive, compelling and captivating league season. There still is a fair bit to run, but yeah, today we'll see some more teams making their move, you think?
Thanks, Chris. Back to the FA Cup. Things have just got a little bit harder for League 2. Wimbledon in their game with Ipswich. Aaron Paul.
Yeah, they're down to 10 men. Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 2. Harry Pell on a yellow card from the first half has been sent off following an altercation with George Edmonton. It looked like an elbow following a challenge on a high ball, but yeah, Harry Pell sent off. Wimbledon down to 10. Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 2.
Thank you, Aaron. So scores for you elsewhere then. Millwall 1, Leicester 2, Coventry 4, Oxford 1, Maidstone United 1, Stevenage 0. That could be the big story of the third round. We'll wait and see. Maybe yet it will come at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 1. Second half commentary with Pat Nevin and John Murray.
Guys, just been wondering with Pat whether Sunderland might make a change at the start of the second half, whether Michael Beale might do something. And not immediately obvious, no. I think that is all 11 back on. So as they started, Patterson in goal, Hume, O'Neill, own goal scorer Ballard and Alice, that's the back four. Ekwa and Neil and Joe Bellingham, Alex Pritchard, Jack Clark and Nazari Rusin. And Newcastle, who lead by 1-0. They'll be attacking towards the end where their 6,000 fans are housed. They begin the second half. Run you through the team once we get back from Millwall, because Becky Ives.
Yeah, There's been a goal and it's gone to Leicester just as you thought Millwall were going back into this. It is Millwall 1, Leicester 3. It's Thomas Cannon who came in from the midfield. The Millwall keeper came out, missed it. He took it round him into an open net. Millwall 1, Leicester 3.
Yeah, Cannon in the goals again. And Sunderland have lost it. Almiron plays it across. Isak scores from 10 yards. Sunderland lost possession inside their own box. You don't get much more careless than that in a match of this size. And Isak, ruthless. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 2 in the first minute of the second half.
Do you know, I don't know what Michael Beale said to him. Almost certainly, keep it tight, don't do anything silly at the start. And they overplay it in the box there. Now we know lots of teams are doing that, and we know that's Sunderland style. But you have to be good, you have to be sharp, you can't make mistakes, and certainly not in your own box there. And as soon as they pressed up, there was no chance in the world that Isak was going to miss that there. And all the hopes, all the changes, all the expectations in this second half that Sunderland would have hoped for and went for, well, it's a mountain now.
Newcastle's players able to celebrate right in front of their own fans. And it was Ekwa who was dispossessed by Almiron on the edge of the box, and Isak arriving in the area. It was effectively an open goal on his left foot, and he wasn't going to miss that. And Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 2. It is now a long, long way back for Newcastle United, and Eddie Howe for Sunderland in this match. And Eddie Howe is immediately going to make a change, and Lewis Miley, the 17-year-old Newcastle fan who has, well, he's burst onto the scene this season. Eddie Howe immediately says, Joe Linton, who did have a knock at the end of the first half, Eddie Howe immediately says to Lewis Miley, come and have a taste of this.
Yeah, and he'll love coming on for this 2-0 against the great rivals. Probably a chance to make it something even better than that, and a score to remember. You could see just by his body shape, he was desperate to get on.
So Newcastle, it would seem, very much on course now to claim a place in the fourth round of the FA Cup for the first time in 4 seasons, incidentally. They've gone out in the third round in each of the last 3 seasons, and that means that Maidstone United are very much in the spotlight in terms of the shock. The team that are the lowest placed side in the pyramid, still in the FA Cup, are on for it, Chris Coles.
They are very much in the spotlight, but they are very much under pressure because Stevenage are much better in this second half. 3 excellent chances. Jamie Reid denied by a good Lucas Covolan save. Kane Hemmings ditto. Covolan with an excellent save to deny a one-on-one, and Harvey White has just blasted over from close range. We saw Maidstone as an attacking threat in the first half. They're going to be tested rigorously defensively for the final 25 minutes here if they're to make the fourth round. Maidstone 1, Stevenage 0.
Yep, regular visits to Maidstone coming up, but Sunderland have had a near thing. Ekwa with a shot from 25 yards that was actually deflected on the edge of the area, and Dubravka diving down to his left had to block it with his legs, but he did keep it out.
He did. I think it's a fantastic save there. Easily the best moment of the game for Sunderland after their worst moment of the game so far. Keeper saves it, and a little bit more liveliness a little bit further up the field. Good bit of play there from Joe Bellingham. Gets a free kick, and another dangerous situation for Sunderland now.
Sunderland need a goal. They need it quickly. That is so obvious with a scoreline of Sunderland 0, Newcastle 2. They've got a free kick in the aftermath of that. Pritchard waiting to play this in from the right-hand side. Here he comes, right-footed ball into low waist level. Isak was able to head it away, but Sunderland then lose it on the far side. Clark passing to Neil, who could only deflect it out for a throw into Newcastle, and more home frustration.
Yeah, but just those few moments there from Ekwa, getting caught in his own box, when he just dilly-dallies a little bit. And if you get players like Almiron, you know they're going to chase everything. You know they're sharp, they're quick at that sort of thing. Yeah, at least he's not put his head down. Moments later he's up 20 yards out, having a shot that almost got them back in touching distance again.
So Newcastle are looking at what would be their first victory in a Tyne Weir derby, or Weir Tyne if you prefer, for over 12 years since they won 1-0 here at the Stadium of Light. And it is a Newcastle throw halfway inside their own half. When they won that match back in August 2011, it was Ryan Taylor who scored the winning goal. Sunderland look to win the ball back, but it's lost over there on the far side, and now Newcastle sweeping forward again. Trippier into the penalty area, but
the referee gave it, didn't he? Gave the free kick way back.
Yeah.
For the noise around here, you couldn't hear it, but he left it for a little bit of see if there was any advantage at all, but I think he knew then I think he actually made a mistake, to be fair, and then just realised it. As we'll get it wrong right eventually.
So that's Pat Nevin, former Scotland international, played in the FA Cup final itself. Great occasion then, always has been, and it is still. The final is an amazing occasion. You know, we say this every year, but if you get the opportunity to be a part, if your team has a chance of winning this competition, it is a great day. Sunderland concede they win a goal kick, but Anthony Gordon forcing 09 all the way back towards his dead ball line, and in the end blocking it out for a goal kick. So goal kick to Sunderland, who trail by 2-0. Newcastle, who have not won the FA Cup since 1955. That was their last major top-line domestic trophy. And clearly with the new money, the Saudi money, the expectation is that will come to an end sooner or later. Sunderland with the ball in the centre circle. Neil, though, and then in steps Longstaff. Trippier on the ball, tapping it square into the centre circle. Bruno Guimaraes, high ball down the right. Almiron takes that down near the corner flag, back onto his left foot, uses Trippier drags it square. Bruno Guimaraes into the box, but there's no one there in a black and white shirt. It just runs through to goalkeeper Patterson.
That's to say that the run that was made there by Longstaff is another brilliant run. He loves that position, he gets into it. So it was an inside forward on the right hand side sort of position. They'd run too early there, he knew it was offside, so he didn't go for the ball. But Newcastle are much better at closing down higher up the field just now. Obviously Eddie Howe seen that's a problem for Sunderland. Nearly got caught again, Sunderland there.
Elise carrying the ball forward, but the ball was out of play on the far side under pressure, ran it over the line, throwing to Newcastle, who have Dubravka in goal, Trippier, Cher, Botman and Byrne. Now Longstaff, Guimaraes and Lewis Miley, the 17-year-old who was 9 the last time Newcastle and Sunderland played each other. It's ridiculous. Almiron, Isak and Gordon are the front line. It was actually said to me, Craig Hope from the Daily Mail said to me a couple of weeks ago, you know, when the pandemic began, he was 13. Here's Gordon playing the ball out towards the far side. Trippier gets it down. Almiron in front of him on this dry afternoon. No sunshine just now, not too cold either. Almiron playing it further forward down that right flank. Longstaff is onto this near the corner flag. Elise is with him, and then the ball bounces away and Sunderland should get it away. In fact, it is a throw-in to the home side. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 2 is the score. And the other later scores in the FA Cup, those are the 4 early kickoffs, all started at 12:30 actually, as opposed to 12:45 here. Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 2. Coventry on their way through, in good form at the moment, 4-1 against Oxford United. It is Millwall 1, Leicester 3. That match is on Sports Extra. And Maidstone United still leading by 1-0 against Stevenage. So the story is on for Maidstone United. Sunderland, well, it would be quite a story for them if they're able to get out of the hole that they're in here. And Newcastle with Dan Byrne, another of the Newcastle fans in this Eddie Howe side. Gordon's ball in, deflected to the edge of the area. Longstaff after it. Ballard clears it away, but Bruno Guimaraes now. Almiron, Trippier on the overlap, swings the ball in, but a falling Ballard is able to block it wide of the near post for a Newcastle corner.
Well, you're talking about Sunderland getting out of a hole. Well, they need to get out of their own half first, and that's becoming a real problem for them. Because what Newcastle are doing is they're allowing Sunderland to get the ball at the back. Goalkeeper, they will try and play out to the back. Newcastle do not believe they are good enough to do it, so they press them then, and they keep on getting the ball back in the final third, and that's the last thing that Sunderland want just now.
Corner for Newcastle. They would love to twist the knife. In comes the ball, only half-headed away at the near post by 09. Newcastle take up possession again on the right-hand side. Trippier through to Longstaff. now Almiron and Trippier, Bruno Guimaraes with a touch, some lovely flicks now coming in from Newcastle, the confidence of a team winning away from home, and then the ball deflects into the area to Gordon. It could have fallen for his left foot, but crucially Ekwa was there and deflected off Bruno Guimaraes, who deflects the ball behind for what is a goal kick to Sunderland, and then puts together a remarkable reaction in front of the Newcastle fans, punching the air twice, thrice, shouting towards them, obviously wanting to make sure that the Newcastle support maintains its level.
I also think, apart from the fact that it's working what they're trying to do in this second half, but also he wants to make sure that there's pressure put in that back line, because that's where all the Newcastle fans are. And by the way, they played some really nice football there for a moment.
Yeah, they did. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 2. First half goal, the own goal from Ballard, and then Isak, really an absolute gift from Sunderland. After Ekwa lost possession, Almiron set up Isak to score his 12th goal of the season. Newcastle again come forward, no let up from them. Longstaff into the area on the right hand side, played it out off Ballard. It is a corner. The Sunderland defender said final touch was off Longstaff, but no, the officials say corner Newcastle.
A difficult one to see from here. Both officials have gone for a corner kick. It looked like a double ricochet there, but they've got everything's going Newcastle's way just now. But the confidence, the Ole is everything, and you do get the feeling if the third goal gets in, it could get a little bit ugly for Sunderland.
Yeah, that's what those Geordie fans behind that goal, that's what they want, twirling their scarves. It's all black and white in there. And here comes the latest Newcastle corner, which has gone a long way. It actually bounces over Miley on the edge of the box. Miley twisting and turning, recently scored his first Newcastle goal in front of the Gallagate, and Newcastle almost onto this with Isak and Miley, but crucially Hume was able to step in and take it as clean as a whistle, and Sunderland then lose it on halfway. Pritchard, Hume couldn't find him, and the ball bounces all the way back for a goal kick to Sunderland. So 2-0 Newcastle lead. What's the latest in Maidstone? Chris Coles.
Maidstone still lead, but it's a fragile one. Their crossbar has just been hit by Jamie Reid, looping left foot shot that came back off Lucas Coverland's crossbar. Stevenage turning the screw, but still trailing by a goal to nil.
Thank you, Chris. So Maidstone getting closer by the second. Newcastle likewise. Sunderland very nearly lost it again near the edge of their penalty area, but were able to recover.
And there's Ekwa again. I mean, he always wants the ball. You give him that, he'll always say, give me the ball. But the pressure that he can put under by players that have got a bit more lively today. We were talking about the kind of sluggishness of Newcastle against Liverpool in particular. Much better today.
Pierre Ekwa, who's been dubbed Roca Pierre by the Sunderland historian Rob Mason. Pritchard goes for goal, and it just skims the top of the crossbar. Dubravka, I think, was comfortable that it was going over, but that was not far away.
That's two really decent efforts they've had in the second half, and they didn't have a sniff in the first half. So although they're under huge pressure, at least they're breaking better now. And if they could only get one goal, I would ask a question, and would the confidence of the Newcastle players be knocked in any way? Because they are playing with huge confidence at the moment, but it needs one of those special FA Cup 25-yarders, doesn't it, for Sunderland?
He scored from almost there on Monday against Preston, which was his first goal of the season, and that was less than a foot over the top. 2-0 Newcastle lead. Here is Miley now, and then O'Nien comes in and clatters into the challenge. Luke O'Nien enjoyed that on the big young hope of Newcastle United, out for a throw.
You've got a warm old FA Cup feeling, haven't you, at the moment, with some of those tackles that are raining in.
And there was a punch of the air from O'Nien after that, which was reminiscent of Bruce Forsyth on the Generation game, for those who remember that. Here is Pritchard on the right hand side. Pritchard swings it infield, but that's over the top of Neil, and Newcastle take possession again halfway inside their own half. So Newcastle in the driving seat here. Newcastle, who've had not much luck with cup draws this season, in that Champions League group that they ended up bottom of, and in the Carabao Cup drawing Manchester City, then Manchester United away, Chelsea away, and then drawing Sunderland away in the FA Cup.
Sometimes you feel your season's against you for some reason, and they've been unlucky as well. I'm still coming back to that Champions League, that penalty, against PSG. Yeah. I mean, that still must hurt Newcastle fans.
I also think a big turning point was the shot from Guimaraes against Milan at home, that Maignan saved onto the crossbar. That was at a really crucial moment of that match. Newcastle, though, coming forward. They're in good humour here. Isak against O'Neill, who is able to put in the challenge, and Sunderland have got the ball back. But they can barely get out of their own half. That's the problem for Michael Beale's team. Has passed forward for the run of Rusin, who's barely been in the game, the Ukrainian, and Botman lands on top of him. The ball is bounced out of play and is given by referee Pawson as only a throw-in.
Just, it's a long way away from us. Just by the way he tackled, I was sure that was Dan Burn.
It was Burn.
Purely because of the way he tackled. He basically encapsulated the entirety of his body all over him there. But at the moment, I would say since the second goal, it's probably been the best period of the game as a game of football, because Sunderland come out a little bit more, and I think it's that case of, right, we've nothing to lose now, we might as well go and have a try at everything, and they've played a little bit better, but it still looks more likely that Newcastle could score the next goal.
Yeah. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 2. BBC Radio 5 Live, BBC Sounds as well. Here's Pritchard as well, nice footwork. Now here's Clark, barely been able to get into the game. Clark then plays it back to Ekwa. Ekwa 30 yards out, probably more than that. Square Neil, now to the right hand side. Groans from all of these home supporters in the red and white scarves and hats down in front of us. And now on the right hand side it is Neil who's battling for it with Byrne. Throw in Sunderland's way. Bellingham again. We've really hardly been able to see anything of Joe Bellingham in this game, the 18-year-old, as Sunderland have to go back all the way to their goalkeeper Patterson. If you were listening in the first half, by the way, Jordan Pickford did not appear on the pitch at half-time, but he is here. I've seen a shot of him in the stands, the Everton former Sunderland goalkeeper. Neil now winning a throw-in on the right-hand side of Longstaff. Newcastle 2-0 up. Back to Wimbledon, Aaron Paul.
Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 2. Ipswich thought they'd wrap this one up. Luke Wolfenden at the back post, tapping home. That goal ruled offside. This game has opened up, though. Alex Bass with a couple of stunning saves, one from Christian Walton, from Armani Little. As Wimbledon, 10 men of Wimbledon look to get back into this one. Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 2.
Ball is with the Sunderland goalkeeper Patterson, who has been beaten only by an own goal, and after a poor mistake by Ekwa. The goals don't look good for Sunderland, as Bellingham is shrugged over 10 yards inside the Newcastle half, and that is a free kick for the home side.
Well, that would be the difference between him and his brother. In that situation, his brother just cruises away, and it looks as if he's getting a little bit tired just now, Bellingham. I think the occasion might have got to him a little bit.
Ball through from Ekwa. Pritchard turning away from Bruno Guimaraes, then back to forward of the centre circle. Neil goes out to the left hand side to Elise, who comes back in field towards Neil, and then Neil right footed, but that is way behind Human. He'll do well to keep it in, he can't keep it in. It's out for a throw to Newcastle. Cheers from all of those in black and white, and it's back to Coventry again, and Lee Blakeman.
Oxford United have got one back. Coventry 4, Oxford United 2. Substitute Tyler Goodrum through a crowd from the edge of the area. 11 to go as the fight back on. Coventry 4, Oxford United 2.
So the menu for the rest of this FA Cup Saturday on 5 Live. At 3 o'clock we will be at Priestfield for Gillingham against Sheffield United, and Ian Dennis is there with the team news.
And John, the League Two side are unchanged from the team that played against Colchester. While Sheffield United have made 5 changes, you could argue that they are stronger, because Harmer is back from suspension, McAtee is available after being ineligible against Manchester City, and Brereton Diaz is on the bench.
Ian will be alongside Nathan Jones for the commentary, but we'll obviously have all of the matches covered. 10 matches, 10 ties kick off in the FA Cup third round at 3 o'clock. Southampton Walsall is on Sports Extra, and then later we will have commentary on Middlesbrough against Aston Villa from 5:30 with Vicky Sparks and Neil Lennon. That's also on BBC One. Chelsea Preston will be on Sports Extra, and more commentaries tomorrow as well. Peterborough Leeds 2 o'clock, Luton Bolton on Sports Extra, and Arsenal Liverpool will be on BBC One tomorrow, so that's where you can watch it. Here is Miley in the centre circle, and then back it goes to central defender Botman. Obviously tonight 6:06 with Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton, your FA Cup third round Saturday 6:06. Ball from Guimaraes over the top, which bounces all of the way through to Patterson, and now there's a bit of a conflagration. Gordon's got involved with Hume, and Ballard has stepped in there as well, and this could be trouble, because remember, Hume has already been yellow carded in this match, and the referee Craig Pawson has got to sort this out. Well, Hume's been shepherded away. Just depends what the referee decides to do here.
Well, he's got a card in his hand, so whether he just gives that to Gordon, or will he put that card back in his pocket? Because Gordon, certainly he was he pulled first, so if he does that, that's fair enough. But often in those situations, both players get the card, and not on this occasion.
Yellow card for Gordon only, so that must be for his reaction. So still Isak talks to the referee. So more 3 o'clock team news. Next, Stoke City, Pat Murphy.
Stoke bedeviled by injuries and suspension, make 6 changes, but Brighton are going for it. Dunk is back from suspension and Ferguson starts.
It's now Fleetwood 1, Derby 2 in League 1 in the 12:30 kickoff. Harrogate Town 1, Doncaster 1, still the latest score in League 2. Rusyn can't keep the ball in, way down in front of us, and it's a throw into Newcastle halfway inside their own half.
It's worth underlining though, I mean, the timidity you got from Sunderland for the latter part of the first half, and then for maybe 5 minutes to start the second half, but since then they really have been very impressive. They've decided to have a go, play a little bit higher up the field. You just ask a few more questions. I mean, it might not work, but at least they're having a go. It's a cup game, you might as well do that.
I think Hume was dicing with danger.
I think so.
Getting involved in that, and here is Bellingham, who can't keep the ball in on the touchline, just very close to Michael Beale, and his body language there really betrayed his frustration, and he'll know that he hasn't really been able to do himself justice.
Now, always remember, his name may be Bellingham, but he's also 18. I mean, it's a lot to ask to play in this game, and specifically this game, against high standard of players, and it's been tough for him today, but he'll learn from it.
Well, we are into the last quarter of the match here at the Stadium of Light, where it is Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 2. So Maidstone cannot be too far away from a place in the 4th round of the FA Cup with you, Chris Coles.
They are 6 minutes 20 seconds away, although I think we'll have a fair chunk of stoppage time because of the number of changes and a game fragmented by injuries. Stevenage, as you expect, throwing everything forward, but Maidstone are repelling them fairly comfortably for now, but still 6 minutes plus stoppage time to go. Maidstone 1, Stevenage 0.
Oh, Ballard has given it away. The shot from Almiron is blocked inside the area. He actually shot against the man who hit the poor clearance, Ballard. And, or was it 09 who actually blocked it? I think it was Ballard's missed clearance, and then 09 blocked the shot from Almiron.
I don't know how much he knew about it. It might have come right off his face there, right on the line there. But he just threw his body up, hoping it would hit him, and it actually got his head down. It just got him in the forehead there. Another little chance, but it's another mistake. But it's a mistake because Sunderland are trying to play out, and you forgive them for doing that.
Yep, it was 09 who blocked it after Ballard's initial poor clearance. So it's into the corner to Newcastle, 2-0 up. Here's the delivery, Trippier swirls one into the near post. Bellingham heads it away to the edge of the area. Gordon got a touch on that and then wasn't able to find Miley, and actually Sunderland break away at 2-0. If Sunderland can find a foothold in the match, a goal, then we could potentially have a grandstand finish. But there's no particular indication of that.
Well, there has been one or two. They've had 2 shots in range, haven't they? And it is the FA Cup, and that can happen. The weird things and mad things do happen, but it kind of needs to happen quite soon. If they did get a goal, you can tell them as a group they will just lift, because they have already lifted in the last 10 or 15 minutes. So, but it's still just as likely that Newcastle will score.
I actually think in the match at the moment, Newcastle's poor recent form actually really counts against Sunderland, because I detect a determination in this Newcastle side not to let this slip, because of the way that there has been the criticism in recent weeks and the pressure building. Bruno Guimaraes to the left-hand side. Byrne joins in the attack. We're going back to Coventry. Another goal, Lee Blakeman.
It's all over now, John. Coventry have got a fifth, leading 5-2. Matty Godden on as a sub with a curler into the far bottom corner around the keeper. Lovely goal. Coventry 5, Oxford United 2.
And also another goal at Millwall. Becky Ives.
It's gone to Millwall. We have late drama here. Millwall 2, Leicester 3. Zion Fleming with the goal. It was actually Tom Bradshaw that forced a save, which led to a corner. The corner was taken, and Fleming was stood just on the penalty spot. Ball came to him. Bam, back of the net. Millwall 2, Leicester 3.
And you can hear that right now on Sports Extra via BBC Sounds. Sunderland winning a throw-in halfway inside their own half. 20 minutes to play. I mentioned the occasion that is the FA Cup final itself, and there are tickets to be won for the FA Cup final and the Women's FA Cup final as well on Radio 1 with Greg James on Monday morning. But you have to do a little bit of work at the Radio 1 website or on the socials to prepare for that. But it is a great, great prize. Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 2. If you missed out on Win the Headlines, then maybe you'll be lucky on Monday on Radio 1. Ball played back towards the edge of the Newcastle penalty area, and Newcastle building on the left-hand side with Byrne. Now here is Gordon, slid into by Bellingham, won back well, and then Pritchard just worked it away from Bruno Guimaraes, who came in with a challenge and is yellow carded. Free kick to Sunderland forward of the centre circle.
It's a bit of a surprise, that, because there's been tackles like that all afternoon and the referee hasn't even given a foul for it, but he's given a yellow card against Bruno, which maybe slightly harsh in the circumstances, but it was a little bit late. And just at the moment, the way it is playing just now, I'm actually more impressed with Sunderland at this point of the game than I've probably been at any point. But the question you ask yourself is 70 minutes, is it? 71 minutes. Still not made a change, Michael Beale, which almost tells you he doesn't think he's got a great deal that can make massive difference from the bench.
No, it does. Still the same team that started the match, an unchanged team. So this was the team that played here against Preston on Monday. Free kick, Bruno Guimaraes yellow carded, so that's 4 yellows in his last 5 appearances for the Brazilian. Pritchard takes this square, groans, Neil, and to Clark. Clark though has 2 men either side of him, and the third one, Bruno Guimaraes, steps in, so Clark can't make any headway, and Sunderland go all the way back to their goalkeeper. More 3 o'clock team news. QPR Bournemouth, John Hunt.
And the Premier League visitors make 7 changes. Mark Travers starts his very first game for them in goal, but they still look very strong, John, with Kiefer Moore, Philip Bingham and also Max Aarons in the starting lineup for Bournemouth.
We'll hear John from 3 o'clock. Here comes Sunderland on the left-hand side. Clark up against Trippier, but Trippier puts in the challenge. Good tackle. Ball bounces away. And the final touch off the Sunderland man, who is incredulous, but it is a goal kick.
Again, you look at Whiteplayer and you think, how many times they've got a chance to go and run at the fullback? Is that maybe twice? Second time in the entirety of the game, and Kieran Trippier just stood up to him and waited and waited. Now, to be honest, I think it probably should have been a corner kick, but Kieran Trippier has actually done that job very well.
Newcastle looking, well, first of all, and they have been enterprising, even with the 2-0 lead, they've continued to look for the third goal. But after that, it is to see this game out and win a place in the 4th round draw on Monday night. Back to Coventry, Lee Blakeman.
Coventry have 6, another for Matty Godden in behind, slotted it past the advancing keeper. Coventry 6, Oxford United 2.
As Newcastle break away, back to Wimbledon, Aaron Paul.
Ipswich have basically won this. Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 3, minute to go. Wes Burns with the shot off the right. Alex Bass palming it into the path of Jack Taylor, just a tap home from 3 or 4 yards out. Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 3.
Now Fleetwood 1, Derby 3 in the early kick-off in League One. Here's Pritchard for Sunderland, 25 yards out, approaches the area, goes for goal, and Dubravka goes down well to his right. Good one-handed save, shot with the outside of his foot with 4 Newcastle players around him. Did well to even get the shot in, and now Clark goes down on the far side, no free kick. Clark goes down again, Trippier with a challenge, that is given us a free kick. Cheers, ovations from the Sunderland supporters.
And it seems to come from the same place every single time. From when they get a chance, they're coming from deep. Newcastle are dropping off a little bit, and they've had 3 shots. 2 of them have been from Pritchard, from about 20-22 yards. In this occasion, I think that was a fantastic save by Dubravka. So for all we say, there have been 3 half chances for Sunderland in this second half.
Excellent effort from Pritchard. Free kick to Sunderland. Must be almost 90 minutes up at Maidstone, Chris Coles.
We are over 90 minutes. We're 1 minute into 4 added on. Maidstone are so close to continuing their historic FA Cup journey, and they are ending this game exactly as they'd like, because Stevenage are just not threatening. 3 minutes of stoppage time to play. Non-League Maidstone 1, League One Stevenage 0.
15 minutes to play here at the Stadium of Light on Wearside, up above the River Wear itself. Pritchard on the pitch in the full-back position with this free kick. Pritchard swings it into the near post, but Isak was there for Newcastle underneath it to head it up and back to the free kick taker. Pritchard, fair-haired, thinning on top. Little ball in towards the edge of the area. Elise was there. It bounces for Sunderland, but Newcastle, well, Bruno Gimreich rather dives into the challenge there, and he wins the free kick, which Newcastle are looking to take quickly, but the referee's going to bring this back.
Can I share your surprise in that? Because the way Gimreich went into it there, he just looked as if he was off balance, and he dived towards the ball. I mean, maybe from the angle we didn't see it, there was a drag back on him, but it seems a bit... No, I can't believe he's got a free kick for that. I would have given the free kick the other way.
Yeah, and Dan Neil it was, the Sunderland player. It seemed that maybe the use of the arms from Neil, but he did seem to slide in on Neil, Bruno Gimreich, who is on a yellow card, as we've said. So into the last 15 minutes of this cup tie, this much and long awaited meeting again of Sunderland and Newcastle for the first time for almost 8 years that they've played each other. At one stage during the run that Sunderland have had against Newcastle, they won 6 in a row against them since Newcastle last won one of these. But unless something dramatic, quite dramatic happens, Newcastle are heading through. So let's go to Maidstone United for the closing stages there with Chris Coles.
We are 1 minute and 15 seconds away from Maidstone continuing their FA Cup journey. They lead Stevenage by 1-0. Sam Corn's first half penalty, the difference between the two sides. 69 places between them, but you wouldn't know it. Maidstone have been excellent, and they just need to hold on for 1 more minute, and they will make the 4th round for the first time in their history. Stevenage, as you'd expect, on the attack on the far side, the right, lifted into the penalty area. Rhys Greenidge heads away. He's been an absolute colossus at the back for the non-league side this afternoon. 40 seconds to play. Brilliant challenge on Harry Cipriano by Lamar Reynolds. Hence the cheers from the Maidstone fans, who are ready to erupt. 30 seconds to play. The ball on the edge of the Stevenage penalty area as they kick from right to left, away from the passionate Maidstone fans. But the ball is in the Stevenage half, which is exactly where Maidstone need it to be. The ball high in the air, heads towards the Maidstone penalty area. Another huge volley away by Sam Corn, who is Maidstone's hero. All eyes now on the referee with 5 seconds of stoppage time to play. Maidstone, whose journey in the FA Cup started in September. 5 games later, and here they are on the verge of the 4th round. They've done it. The lowest ranked side left in the FA Cup are still the lowest ranked side left in the FA Cup. They've beaten League One Stevenage, and the Gallagher Stadium pitch awash with jubilant Maidstone United fans. What a journey it's been for them. Manager George Elokobi, he was in tears when they beat Barrow in the 2nd round. I imagine he's just as emotional now. Wonderful scenes at the Gallagher Stadium, and a historic result for Maidstone United. Their brilliant journey in the FA Cup continues. They've beaten League One Stevenage by 1-0.
Well, thank you, Chris. So the story, the great FA Cup story of 23-24 continues for Maidstone United. Newcastle here are winning 2-0, comfortable with it, relatively comfortable, as Trippier plays a free kick in towards the edge of the Sunderland box. Gordon now crossing from the right-hand side, but Sunderland should clear this. While you've been away, the Sunderland captain has been yellow carded for a blatant body check on Anthony Gordon, so Luke O'Nien yellow carded. That was the easiest decision of the day for Craig Pawson, the referee, and now Sunderland have given it away again. Gordon in the box, shoots from the angle, but right across the face of goal and beyond the far post, and here's Pat Nevin.
And the classic one of the player for the back. They've got caught a few times, they've lost a goal out of it, and fans say, why are you doing it? It's causing so many problems, but that's the style of play. I have to say, Michael Beale, he's made a change in the second half, and a lot of it's been to do with Pritchard playing in front of a diamond. and he's got the ball time and time again, and he's caused real problems. So, you know, that tactical change, he may not have changed the personnel, but that tactical change, I bet he wishes they'd made it a little bit earlier, because Pritchard looked a bit special, hasn't he, in that area? Yeah, he has. Pritchard, who did play in the Premier League, was at Huddersfield in their time in the top flight. Sunderland 0, Newcastle 2. The 12:30 matches, final whistles going as we've heard. So the big story is Maidstone United are through to the 4th round. So we will hear, I'd imagine we'll hear from George Alacobi during the course of the remainder of 5 Live Sport this afternoon. He'll be in Sports Report for sure. That is a definite after 5 o'clock. So Maidstone United are through. What a night it'll be for them on Monday, the 4th round draw, round about 10 to 8 if you're a Maidstone United supporter, to find out who they'll play in the 4th round. It's all over at Wimbledon. Aaron Paul.
Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 3. No upset here. Goals from Tuan Zabi-Taylor and a Josh Davidson own goal. Wrapped this one up for the championship side. Pretty comfortable for them in the end. Ipswich through to round 4. Wimbledon 1, Ipswich 3.
Got a Coventry and Millwall in a moment. Millwall 2, Leicester 3 was the score last we heard. Sunderland break forward on the halfway line. If they're going to make anything of this, if they're going to give us a grandstand finish, then they need to get a goal ASAP. 09 with a long right-footed ball that Trippier is able to head easily back to goalkeeper Dubravka, who did make that very important save from Pritchard. To Millwall, Becky Ives.
It's ended Millwall 2, Leicester 3. Millwall pushed towards the end, but they just couldn't find the equaliser to force a replay. Leicester 2-0 up at half-time. Duncan Watmore did get one back for Millwall, but every time they got a foot in the game, Leicester struck again. Tom Cannon 3-1. Zion Fleming there with the final goal. Millwall 2, Leicester 3.
In the League 2 early kick-off, Harrogate Town are back in front against Doncaster Rovers. Harrogate 2, Doncaster 1. Last 10 minutes here. Newcastle supporters, massed ranks of them in black and white. I think, well, I'm saying this fairly confidently, that black and white scarves were given out on the team buses, all of those buses that came from St James's Park, because it feels like, it looks like every single supporter has got the same scarf around their neck. Here's Isak, but Newcastle lose it on the edge of the Sunderland box in front of 44,814 people. That is the biggest crowd of the season so far at the Stadium of Light. You won't be surprised to hear. Coventry City comfortably through into Monday's draw as well, with you, Lee Blakeman.
6-2 winners against Oxford United, 3 goals in each half. Casey Palmer's in the first, the best of the bunch, from more than 25 yards out into the top corner. Definitely, John, the goal of the round. Sat into the game for Oxford United's Stanley Mills, who's just left the field following lengthy treatment on the pitch on a stretcher. Fingers crossed for him. It's ended Coventry 6, Oxford United 2.
Yes, very, very much so. That is worrying news. Obviously, we know his dad, Danny, very well. So let's hope things are okay for Stanley Mills, as Elise concedes a free kick on the far side, a challenge on Almiron. It's finished Fleetwood 1, Derby 3 in the 12:30 kick-off in League 1. Commentary on Gillingham, Sheffield United on the way. Couldn't believe Ian Dennis saying this is his first visit to Priestfield. He must have done the 92. Well, now here, as Newcastle take this free kick from over on the far side. Here's Gordon, who gets it down. Seagulls are circling, or gulls if you prefer, not too far away from the famous Roker seafront here, although not as close as the famous Roker Park used to be, as Newcastle play the ball back into their own half. You'll have played there, Pat. One of the coldest places on earth in the middle of winter. Gordon then playing it back into central defence. Bruno Guimaraes over to the far side.
I smile as I remember a game at Roker Park that was played on ice. It was just solid ice.
Newcastle, confidence about them. It's their supporters you can hear. They've followed them to all sorts of places this season, but not here to the Stadium of Light for such a long time, almost a generation. And they're winning 2-0, and the ball's played through for Almiron, who pulls it back from the dead ball line, but Ballard stepped in and was able to get it away for Sunderland, who want to get downfield quickly. That's what their supporters want them to do. There's a bit of uneasiness, you can probably hear that. I can see Sunderland fans just down in front of us in the various replica shirts with hands on heads. You know, they just feel that they can't make any impressions. Newcastle have just been too good for them today, really. Bruno Guimaraes.
Yeah, they have been. I don't think there'll be boos or anything like that. I think they know there's been plenty of effort.
Almiron, head down into the box, low ball right across the 6-yard area. Nobody there in either black and white or red and white. And how nice it is that the two teams were able to play in their first choice striped shirts in this match, even though the numbers for both are a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
But we've nearly got through it. I think we've got most things right. As Abdullah Ba comes on to replace Rusin, Nazari Rusin, who had a great day on Monday, scoring his first goal for Sunderland. Today, the centre forward has just really never been in the game.
No, it's really hard for him. You know, he's playing against two really experienced, tall, very, very physical centre backs. And any time he runs off that, he comes up against two quality full backs as well. And it's, again, no lack of effort, but you know, he was muscled out of the game entirely today and got very little service. Certainly, you know, behind him, a couple of players have played quite well in the second half as much as anything else. But he never looked as if he was going to score today.
No. He got a great ovation from the crowd, which I think was more than just the fact that it was a centre forward who scored for Sunderland. He is Ukrainian. Michael Beale was telling us afterwards that his wife and family are not here in this country. There were no further details, but it just makes you wonder what that young man is going through and how things are for the rest of his family. So well done him. And Barr has taken up a position on the right-hand side, the young French youth international. So Jack Clark now through the
central.
middle.
It's been hard for Jack Clark again today. He's not got any change whatsoever of defenders either. And it's the players that you were excited about and looking forward to. You know, you needed them to sparkle, have their best days, and some of them are young like Belling, have not sparkled as much.
Well, here is Barr now on nice change of feet, ball in towards the edge of the area. Clark back to Barr, left foot shot, that's blocked, comes back to Barr inside the area. He's got black and white shirts chasing him hither and thither, but he turns again and then into the box. Just a heavy touch as he tried to stab it through to Clark, and Botman was able to clear it out for a throw.
It caused a bit of panic there. I mean, absolutely, Newcastle defenders had no idea what he was going to do. I don't think he did either, but it caused a bit of excitement.
Yes, I don't think anyone was sure where Barr was going to end up there. That Newcastle survive, and they continue to lead by 2-0. Elise. So that's the first change that Michael Beale has made in the match, bringing on Barr for Rusin and moving Clark more central. And I guess the idea is, if you can, you know, get Clark more involved in the match and try and force a goal that might actually give us a finish to this match. But here now is Hume down the right hand side. It was missed by Byrne. Comes in, Barr on the edge of the area, just inside the box. Back to Hume, low ball in right across the 6-yard box, and no one in there. Newcastle players in the end. Trippier left it hasn't gone out of play yet, so Elise keeps it in on the far side. Now the cross from Clark into the box. Shares underneath that, just sweeps it away, out of our sight, actually above the level of the roof in front of our eyes. Now it's back on the pitch. Isak, who scored the second goal for Newcastle. And then O'Nien dives in, didn't get Isak. Gordon breaks down the left hand side, still Gordon into the box. In comes the challenge from Ballard, shoves him over. It's a penalty. Ballard, who scored the own goal in the first half, now concedes a penalty, and Newcastle will have a chance in the 89th minute to wrap this tie up.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone over there, he looks like a bit tired, and he's going, Gordon knows exactly what he's doing. All he needs to do is tip the ball past the defender, and he's going to take the hit. There's not a lot in it, but you see Ballard's reaction. He's just walked away. Usually you get a complaint saying, I never touched him, I didn't do it. He just walked away. He knew it was a penalty kick, and so did all those Newcastle fans behind that goal.
Yeah, straightforward decision for referee Pawson, and just remains to be seen who will take it. I'm guessing it's Isak. He's standing closest to the penalty spot. Bruno Guimaraes is there as well. Anthony Patterson, the Sunderland goalkeeper, is actually carrying the ball at the moment, and eventually gives it to goalkeeper Pawson, and it is going to be Isak who will take it. Left-footed penalty. He's already scored a couple of penalties this season, and the Newcastle fans behind that goal, so he'll be shooting towards the goal, which has those 6,000 Newcastle fans behind it. You know, at the Stadium of Light, it is never going to get any easier than that for a Newcastle player, and it is Isak who's waiting to take this.
I get a feeling he's not going to have to blast it. He'll love to take a little dummy. Is the goalkeeper going to be able to stand his ground and wait?
So it is going to be Alexander Isak against Anthony Patterson, who bobs up and down on his line. Isak takes 3-4 steps back and now is ready on his right foot, takes the penalty and scores, makes it 3-0 to Newcastle. Patterson went the wrong way to his left, and Isak runs away in front of all of those black and white scarves behind that goal with his hands on his ears. His second goal of the match, and Newcastle winning now handsomely here at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 3.
And we probably would agree it's a fitting scoreline for the chances that Newcastle have made. Yeah, a little bit of a fight back from Sunderland in the second half, changed the system a little bit, had a few shots to goal, but Newcastle look as if they've had quality every part of the field just a little bit better than their opponents today. And Isak, who's not done a huge amount, but he's done the important things, which is put the ball in the back of the net twice. And don't forget the effect that Anthony Gordon's had in this game. Again, not the best game he's ever had, but he goes and wins the penalty just for being clever enough to know what to do when a defender's coming in tired, and he's going to just dive in there whatever happens, wins the penalty, finishes off game and relaxes Eddie Howe and the fans.
And now Eddie Howe is going to make all of his remaining changes. He's going to make a quadruple substitution. So Lascelles is going to come on. Cher is leaving the field. I see that Paul Dummett is coming on as well. So Lascelles and Dummett are the two men who've previously involved and played in Sunderland Newcastle matches, so they're going to get both of them a piece of the action. Almiron is coming off. This could take quite a while before we get all of the various numbers punched in.
Shall we go Livramento for him?
Madley. And Livramento, you're absolutely right. Pat coming on. Matt Ritchie is waiting as well. It's almost like they're waiting for a bus. They're standing one behind the other,
which
just waiting for the players to come off. It does. Yeah. And I think that's Dan Byrne coming off as well. It is. So Livramento, I guess, is going over there towards the
Matt Ritchie will come on for Gordon.
In fact, Livramento's gone to the far side, and Dummett's going to play alongside Lascelles and Botman, so three central defenders, it looks like.
And time's gone by.
No, he is at left back, Dummett.
And time's gone by, you would say, well done the gaffer, he's getting you a bonus, an appearance bonus. But I don't know if players worry about that too much now.
I think those days have gone past.
I think possibly so.
So Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 3, and those four players who've just come on for Newcastle able to be a part of what will be Newcastle's first victory in a Tyne Wear derby for over 12 years. So that's why we're seeing the scenes in the stand to our left. All of those Newcastle supporters will be back on the buses on their way back to Tyneside. They were the rules. If you were coming to this match as a Newcastle fan, you had to come on the bus. And all of those matching scarves now being held above Newcastle heads as Barr carries the ball up towards the edge of the area, but the game has gone for Sunderland now. They're going to have to, as they say, concentrate on the league for the rest of this season. But they are in the playoff positions, Sunderland, who lost out in the semi-finals last season as Clark plays it in, and Dummett does well actually up against Neil to get a touch on that, and it bounces up for Dubravka to claim.
When you think about how long it took Eddie Howe to make those changes, clearly he wanted to make them. But at 2-0 he still didn't want to take any chances, and as soon as he gets to 3-0 he makes all the changes. So he took this game very, very seriously indeed, even when they were 2-0 up.
That doesn't surprise me, Pat, when you think of all of the recent bumps in the road there've been for Newcastle. This was not a time to take chances.
Exactly. But you thought at 2-0, are you in control of it? But you could continually say during the second half, and you were right to say so, had one of those screamer shots, particularly from Pritchard, gone in, what a different atmosphere they've had around here. So Eddie Howe felt that as well. So Sunderland have been beaten, and they've been beaten 3-0 at the moment as we speak, but they made a game of it in the second half.
We're in the 4th minute of added time here. at the Stadium of Light. Now lots of red seats beginning to appear around the home sections. There are no longer over 44,000 people inside the stadium. I think many Sunderland supporters thinking, I mean, it is a famously difficult ground to get away from here up on the north bank of the River Wear, as Newcastle played over the halfway line. Bellingham wins it back, and now Hume might be fortunate still to be on the field after he squared up to Anthony Gordon on a yellow card, but he is. Craig Pawson has kept everyone on the pitch. 6 red cards in the last 12 Newcastle-Sunderland matches, but none so far today. Bellingham, across it goes towards the left-hand side, and now in the centre circle, the pass out to the right, and Barr pulls it down on his right foot, just keeps the ball in play as it bounces behind him. Takes on Dummett, in fact plays it square to Bellingham. Little ball to the edge of the area. Hume couldn't set up Pritchard. Newcastle have got it back, and now it is just down to how long Craig Pawson is going to add on at the end of this match. He's got his whistle in his mouth. There it is. There's the final whistle. A comprehensive FA Cup third round victory for Newcastle United here at the home of Sunderland. Eddie Howe comes across and shake hands with the relatively new Sunderland manager Michael Beale. He was under pressure, Eddie Howe, no question, coming into this, as were his team and his club with the recent results that they've had, and they've done the job well. Pat Nevin, the own goal from Ballard in the first half, and then 2 from Isak in the second of them a penalty, but the first of Isak's goals after the mistake from Sunderland at the back, absolutely crucial.
First of all, I'd say, Sunderland have worked hard. I think they'll be disappointed in the latter part of the first half, where I think they were a little bit too timid. Second half they came out and had a little bit of a go, and they're getting applauded by their fans, which shows that they understand what they're trying to get through just now. But if you look at the difference in finances of these clubs, you know that that's important. And very, very importantly, is there one player in Sunderland that Newcastle would go and buy just now if they had the chance? Probably not. So it was always going to be a tough one for them. By the way, there's lots of things.
To get onto the pitch.
When someone's trying to, it's adding a little bit of entertainment there. They've got
Stewart's chased him off.
Yeah, I mean, there is only one time we actually accept a pitch invasion, and that'll be at Maidstone today.
Yep, they're the story. This first Newcastle Sunderland derby match for almost 8 years has gone entirely to form. It has been a special occasion. It's been memorable this today, but much more memorable for Newcastle, who have won one of these derbies for the first time for over 12 years. And for the first time in 4 seasons, Newcastle are into the 4th round of the FA Cup, and they're running now in their black and white shirts towards all of those black and white scarves in the stands behind the goal to the left, after Sunderland 0, Newcastle United 3.